Good evening, good afternoon, and good morning from wherever you are joining us, and welcome along to round two of the European region of the Major Series. Today it's the Intimidator round of the 2026 campaign, and we are coming to you from the virtual World Center of Racing, the Daytona International Speedway. We got drivers on track, 33 of them. We're taking to the high banks today. We're going for 500 miles. It's going to be 200 laps around Daytona. My name is Tim Klaus, and joining me is Mr. Khaled for today's broadcast. We are excited to bring this to you. Cars rounding the back straightaway right now, and we will be going green very shortly. From the pole, we have Austin O'Neill in the Fusion car, and we have Davis Braun on the outside. And then we are going to be working through the starting lineup. However, the pace car is already in turn 3 and 4, and they're about to peel off of the high banks. So we will let that scroll through as we begin to get this race going. Pace car is going to be pulling off here momentarily. Barney the Flagman has that green in hand as we enter the restart zone. Flag is in the air, and we're racing from Daytona. O'Neill on the inside getting a good initial start. We see that third car in line immediately jump down into the bottom line is probably going to prevail there early on as they work their way into turn one for the very first time. You can see pretty closely right away that 7 car is pushing our pole sitter as much as he can. We're going to see a lot of bump drafting there early on. We'll talk a little bit more about that as the race begins to progress, but that inside definitely prevailing is the 25 car on the high side. Moving back just a little bit, looks like we're going to have a 4-car breakaway as they come out of turn 4 at speed for the very first time. It looks like O'Neill will be leading this first lap. The 600 car in that of Mr. White, and then Thomas Northway and Sebastian Jackson, the 87, your top 5 for lap 1. Looks as though that top side is kind of dissipating a little bit, and again, I'll be talking about that as this race progresses. They're also pretty well spread out, so this bottom line is going to prevail here for a little while. These drivers haven't had plenty of on-track time throughout the race weekend. Going back to last weekend's front row qualifying, there have been plenty of qualifying races throughout the week as well, so they've had a lot of on-track experience. This will be the first time that they have actually been on track in a big pack like this, so there's a lot of learning going on right now. These guys trying to figure out what it's like in the big pack, what are their cars doing. Right now, everything's going to feel pretty good with fresh tires and a full tank of fuel, but as the fuel burns off, as the tire wear begins to set in, you're going to see these cars moved around a little bit, and as close as they're going to be remaining throughout the day, that's going to have a big factor. So it's going to be very interesting to see this as this race begins to play out. You can already see we're pretty much single file down through the first, looks like 7 or 8 cars here as we begin to settle into a rhythm, working lap number 3 already. And you can see these guys are coming through. Austin O'Neill continues to lead. Your top 5 remains unchanged. The first car on that outside line, that Gatorade car, trying to get some friends, and it looks as though it's actually going to dissipate even more as they're looking to get inside. So it looks as though the guys are going to try to get all strung out here for a little bit, just to try to feel their way out and get through these opening stages of the race. We are coming to you from Daytona. Did not have a chance to talk about that itself. It's a 2.5-mile oval. 31 degrees in the banking, 18 degrees in that tri-oval, and we're going to be seeing speeds of around 195-ish miles an hour as these guys will be beating and banging for 200 laps to make up the 500 miles of today's race. We can see Rob Love there kind of stuck on the outside without any help, and this actually plays into exactly what I wanted to talk about for a minute, is the draft. You can see these cars are not getting strung out like they would on a traditional oval. This is going to be crucial for today's race. You've got to have that drafting help, and you can see those cars just going by the inside line as Love continues to drop to the back. Very, very difficult to run this race without a drafting partner. If you're running by yourself, like Love is right now, you can see it is going to be a full 4 seconds a lap faster up to in terms of some of the differences in the lap speeds. So Rob's looking to get into that inside line now. Looks like he has an opening, but he doesn't take it, which is interesting. So this might be on purpose, which is also a viable strategy. And we'll talk more about that as the race goes on. But for those of you unfamiliar with the draft, if you have multiple cars in line, that lead car is punching a big hole through the air. As we see Rob Love get in line there onto the bottom. But that lead car will punch a hole through the air, and then the trailing cars will be able to pull up to that lead car and be able to utilize that hole in the air to go a little bit faster, and they'll push that lead car along. So this chain effect essentially allows that whole line of cars to continue to go a lot faster, and you have to have that drafting help here at Daytona. We see Love has settled in here. He is on the tail end of this lead pack, and it does look as though we're all pretty much single file now as we work lap 7 here of 200. Austin O'Neill continues to lead from pole. He's led every single lap, and the 7 car has been right there on his bumper the entire time. We will continue to monitor that as the race goes on. One thing we also want to talk about, teammate alliances. Now, for qualifying, the top 15, it was pretty much dominated by both Fusion and Dogbear. So I kind of expected team cars to get in line nose to tail and work together with each other. We haven't quite seen that play out yet, but we'll definitely keep an eye on that as the race progresses, especially as we start to get down towards the later stages of this race. Teammates working together is a staple of super speedway racing, both in the virtual and in the real world. So I look for those similarly painted cars to be finding each other here before too terribly much longer, and then beginning to work together as we move along. As we get a good look there at Brian Scrivener in the number 70 machine. He started 7th, and he is currently checking time and scoring here. Looks as though he is currently up to 5th, so he's gained a couple of spots there. As we just continue to settle in, again, coming around to complete lap 8 here at Daytona. One other thing that I wanted to mention here, the weather. This track temperature is probably going to continue to rise as the day progresses, and that will definitely play a factor into handling. Handling matters here at Daytona. You need to make sure that you have a good car underneath you. You need to stay on top of that with adjustments. There's a myriad of different things that you can do, some of which can be done on the fly, some of which is going to require more thought, and you need to balance that out with what's happening in the race as well. So these drivers are going to have a lot on their mind as they work their way around the high banks here at Daytona. But for now, as we come around to complete lap number 9, Austin O'Neill continues to lead, and we're probably going to stay this way for a little while. This race is starting to have that green flag look to it. We're all strung out single file, and it may not look like it right now, but I promise you those drivers, they're still working hard inside these race cars. It's not just mashing the pedal and then just flying through the racetrack. There's a lot of modulation of the throttle. There's a lot of regulating the runs. Even in a single file scenario, you're still checking your mirrors. You're still looking at the car in front of you. There's a lot that's going on even when you don't have that car to the outside. And a lot of it too is a feeling out process, a learning process. Again, we are still in this first run of this race. Guys are learning a lot here. And as we jump on board the 744 here with Michael Hogg, he is currently in the 18th position, and this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. There's a bit of a gap to the car in front of him. We're probably not going to be able to see the rear here, but there is a gap to the car behind him. And there, like I said, there you can see as they're starting to modulate that run, they begin to gain slowly on him. There's a good view back in the back. And what Michael's doing there in the car is his eyes are literally bouncing from his mirror to the windshield, mirror, windshield, and a lot of times you'll spend more time looking out the mirror than you do out the windshield. Again, just to check that run behind you. Now, we'll talk a little bit more about this as the race progresses, but if we are in a scenario where there is an attack going on right now, it might be a scenario where Mike's going to back up to that car behind him deliberately to hopefully generate that run to get around the cars in front of him, or to push the guy in front of him to gain positions. There's a lot of strategy that's involved here with generating the passes. But that little onboard snippet right there is a really good shot of kind of what these drivers are doing. It looks like they're not doing much, but I promise you, they're very busy inside those race cars right now. We saw a quick peek. I believe that was the 18 car as we look at Robert Northway right there. We saw him take a quick peek outside a line. That could be just to get a whiff of clean air. That's another aspect of these cars. You can stay nose to tail for a good portion of the time here. However, eventually you're going to need to allow some clean air to flow through that car to cool a few things down. We may have seen a peak there. There is an art to it. You definitely don't want to lose too much, because you don't want to get freight trained like we saw happen with Mr. Love earlier. As we take a good look here at Patrick Kopp, he appears to have been the last car in line, and it looks as though he has lost the draft, and that is something with these next gen NASCAR Cup cars that is very easy to do. If you are the last car in line, you need to make sure that you are within really just a couple of car lengths. It really only takes about 3 or 4 car lengths distance if you are that last car in line to lose the draft, and that appears to be exactly what has happened. I've personally been in that scenario. Not a lot of fun. You just see him start to creep away from you. So Kopp's hopefully going to be he's going to be hoping for a caution here to get caught back up, but we'll continue to monitor that as this race plays out. We're currently working lap number 14. Austin O'Neill continues to lead that that front pack of cars here. Everybody again is strung out. Chris White in the 600 right behind him. Daniel Thomas, Robert Northway, Sebastian Jackson continue to be your top 5. Brian Scrivener, Gary Thomas, Ray Partridge, Wayne Hutchinson, and Davis Braun wrap out your top 10 currently. So it's been clean so far. No spin outs, no cautions, no moments really. These guys have been very much on their good behavior so far, but there'll be plenty of beat and bang to come, I'm sure, as we begin to work through this race stages. As we begin lap 15, you may notice in particular the number 5, our leader, the number 70 car there on screen, as well as the number 19. All 3 of those guys driving for Fusion. You may recognize that paint scheme from a real-world driver. We unfortunately lost NASCAR legend Greg Biffle back on December 18th in a plane crash that killed him, his wife, his 2 children, 2 pilots, and a former NASCAR hauler. In tribute to the Biff, we're going to go silent for lap 16, as that was Greg's car number. So here we go. Greg Biffle originally hailed from the Pacific Northwest, and he made his way eventually all the way to the Cup Series, making his first start in 2001. He would go on to compete in 515 NASCAR Cup Series races. During that stretch, he would compile 175 top 10s, 13 pole positions, and 19 victories. The first of those came right here at Daytona in the July 2003 race. So keep an eye on those tribute categories as we work through today's races. And I know some of the drivers in the other regions here on the Major Series as well have also run those. So definitely want to keep an eye on those guys as they're doing it for the Biff as we continue to work through the race here. We're now on lap 17. Austin O'Neill continues to lead. We're seeing a little bit of action towards the back of the pack here. That's Mark Murphy in the 643. He is currently trying to pick up his teammate there on the outside. Maybe see if we can make something happen here. Now, again, the outside lane, they're going to need some more cars to join them, and you see a couple of them join up right there. And that is how runs begin on the outside lane. They get a good run, they jump to the outside, they have some help. Guys on the inside see them coming, they jump up. Guys who are behind see the run start to take off, they jump up. And that's how we will generate the runs here on the outside line. So going to be interesting to see what kind of headway they can make. It looks as though they're currently, let's call it about 14th in line with the 14th place car on the inside line. So we'll definitely be tracking that progress as these guys begin to work their way towards the front. You can see another driver there pop out on the outside, see if he can catch up to these guys. And we'll definitely keep an eye on that as the race continues to progress. Up front, looks as though the 7's starting to push Austin O'Neill there in the 5 just a little bit going into the corner. And we're going to keep an eye on that as we continue to stay with this outside group. They're beginning to make a little bit of progress, and you can see right here between the, I can't quite tell the car number yet, but we have the 601 here that we're riding with. And you can see the pushes. You can see how organized these guys are right now. Now they're going to back off a little bit in the corners, but as we see them fan out onto the back straightaway, the cars are going to be getting right on each other's bumpers, and that's how you generate that energy to move forward. You can't be half a car length behind. You got to be right up on there. Bump drafting does come into a factor here. However, I have found when driving these next gen cars, it's actually there's a literal air bubble that forms on the rear bumper there. You just need to get inside that air bubble right there without necessarily having to push the car. You want to get right inside that air bubble without necessarily making contact, and that's going to drive you forward. As you can see, as we ride on board with Ben Plowman in the 601, that outside line's moving. Also, I'm a sucker for good-looking race cars, and I'm kind of liking that pewter gold color on the 601 and the 643 cars. Good-looking race cars right there, and you can see exactly what I was just talking about with Mark Murphy there, his teammate in the 601, getting right up on the bumper. There's only about 6 inches there between the two of them, but he never actually makes contact, and that is going to create so much energy, and that is how these guys are able to move forward. Even though there's only 5 cars on that outside lane, 6 cars, excuse me, that is how they're able to generate those runs, because those two guys, I guarantee you, they are working together. They're probably on a Discord channel somewhere talking to each other about it, and they're allowing these runs to get generated, and they're just pulling those remaining 4 cars behind them. And you can see there from the overhead shot, excuse me, just how close the 2 lead cars are getting to each other and how much space there is behind. But now as they begin to check up, those cars are going to close back in. That in turn is going to generate even more steam for this outside line, and it's very much an ebb and flow process, and that is exactly what I was talking about earlier with the throttle modulation, about how you need to time up these runs, not making contact with the guy in front of you, getting up there, pushing him enough without loosening the car. There is absolutely a huge technique to driving this style of racing, and those guys on the top line are absolutely putting it to good use, and they're putting on a show for us right now as we see the 601 abandon that top line, and Mark Murphy's going to drop down in front of him as well. So curious decision, because they were making really good progress. I wonder if they just felt that they got to a spot where they wanted to be and then called it good for now, or if they just didn't feel like the guys behind them were going to be pushing them strong enough. Either way, a pretty impressive run there to go from about 17th to currently 12th in line, and that's a really good demonstration where you can see visually exactly how the draft would work and how those guys can regenerate. So that was a lot of fun to watch. Well done by those guys right there. We have a car that ducked below the yellow line. I can't see if he spun out. He is going to be losing the draft, though. That's going to be Wayne Hutchinson in the 17 car. I'm not sure what happened there. It may have been a push gone wrong. As we have a replay here, yeah, he's up there on the high side, tries to come back down. Just no room there for Wayne in the 17 car. And that is so easy to do there in the tri-oval. As you're coming into the tri-oval section, the car is very, very light as we get another view of it here. Yeah, we just kind of got 3 wide there. 2 cars going for a space that only one could occupy. Kind of a no harm, no foul thing. I mean, Wayne's lost the draft. Unfortunately, he'll be wanting a caution to get back to the pack. But he still has an undamaged race car. Good look at it right there. Not seeing any damage there on the front. There might be a little wrinkle there on that left front from the contact, but he's still going. We're still green, and we move on. Going back to what I was saying earlier, the cars are so light coming into the tri-oval. It just takes just the lightest of touches to spin the car out. And really good job by Wayne there to save the car, and really good job by the guys around him to give him the space to do that. That is very difficult to do when these cars are packed up the way they are. So good job by those guys there. We're still green though. We are working lap 25, and as we do so, we see that Gatorade car on the outside. He's starting to bring the charge once again. That is going to be Rob Love, as you can see there on your screen. That line's not making quite the progress it was a minute ago, as we see another car duck down, and it's starting to dissipate a little bit, but that's okay. A lot of this stuff that we're seeing right now, drivers trying some things, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work, filing it for in the old mental bank to be used later on here in the race again. So much of this is about learning what you have underneath you, who can push, who's a good leader. There's so many things that these drivers are working on as they work through the early stages of this race. I alluded to it a little while ago, tire wear, fuel. We are about halfway through the fuel bill. Those lead cars, Austin O'Neill, who's led every lap this race so far, he can go about 40 laps on a full tank of fuel. This is where things are going to get kind of interesting here, because he is probably holding the throttle wide open. He's not saving any fuel, anything like that. From about the 3rd car on back, if you are in the draft going down the back straightaway, you can drop that throttle off as far as about 50% and just let the draft carry you along. What that is going to do lap after lap is end up saving you a massive amount of fuel, to the tune of maybe being able to go 5 laps longer, up to 5 laps longer if you've done it correctly. And that is going to play a huge role here in the strategy for a couple of different ways. One, obviously, if you want to stay out longer, you can do that. That could come into play if we run into a fuel mileage situation to finish this thing out. The other part of it, too, though, is you have less fuel to put in the car. It's going to result in a quicker pit stop, which is going to also open up the opportunity to maybe take 2 tires instead of 4, or do a fuel-only stop. So a lot of every tiny little thing here in this race is going to play a factor at some point. Fuel mileage is one of the big ones for sure, as we are getting a look here at the 618, and now we're cutting back to the 25 car. We're starting to see the pack has broken up into 2 distinct packs. Now, that 25 car is leading the second. There's a good look at our lead pack. Those guys are coming through the tri-oval right now. The second pack is kind of coming through the tri-oval. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I was looking at the wrong one on the overlay there. The lead pack's coming off of turn 2. The second pack is just not entering turn 1. And we do see this quite often, and it doesn't take much for it to happen. It could be just as simple as a push gone back, as we checked up again from the Hutchinson earlier. But we do see this, and they're probably not going to push too hard at the moment. We are currently only about 10-ish laps away from potential green flag pit stops. So I think everybody's going to be pretty content to stay in single file for now. Again, long way to go through this race. We're not even through the first quarter yet. So, but interesting to see that. You can see the overlay there on our camera with the 2 distinct packs that are kind of split up here just a little bit. One other thing too, though, is that lead pack, the trailing pack, if they get single file, they can run this lead pack down. So we'll definitely want to keep an eye on that as well. So there is a little bit of a gap that's already starting to come down, and you can see as we ride aboard with Davis Braun in that 25 car leading that lead pack. Those guys are right out there in front of them. Now there is an added benefit here of falling back. There are many drivers both in the real world and in the virtual world that will fall back on purpose for these kinds of racing. Reason being, we're single file right now, but as we begin to get down to the end of this race, we're going to be seeing all kinds of crazy stuff going on. Now, guys that fall back, they can avoid that big wreck. That big wreck is always around the corner. Because these cars never get strung out, they remain packed up together like we have seen. It's not going to take much to cause a huge incident. The Hutchinson issue is a perfect example of that. If he had gone to the outside instead of the inside, we're looking at a 15-car crash right then and there, just because these guys have nowhere to go. So for that reason, some of these guys, they will fall back to the back of the pack. Obviously, that's not going to be the case right now with Davis Braun and his group, because they have caught all the way back up to this lead group. And now we are all in one big group again. But you see he gets shuffled to the outside there briefly, but he was able to get back in line as they work around the lapped car. Patrick Cobb doing a good job of staying to the high side, following the pre-race etiquette of cars who were being lapped due to go to that high side. So nice job by him to stay out of the way and let the pack through. But yeah, that's another perfect example, though, of just how this draft works and how, if you get organized, you can catch up real quick, because now we're all back to one big group running nose to tail. We are pretty much single file throughout. And yeah, we're still green. Been green the entire first 33 laps of this race as we get lap 24. Austin O'Neill does continue to lead. The top 5, really the top 10, kind of remain unchanged. We've had some interesting moments so far. We've had a close call so far, but it's been, for the most part, very clean, very green, and these cars are looking good as they circle around the high banks. These images that you are seeing from Daytona are brought to you by Whiplash Sim Cams. These fantastic images as we go to the drone shot right there, and you can see kind of a bird's eye view of these guys circulating this racetrack. Great shot there, full grandstands, bright sunshine, beautiful race cars. It's a great thing to look at, guys. Whiplash Cams, these guys are doing a fantastic job, and we appreciate them jumping on board for us, bringing you these images. Khaled, my producer, doing a fantastic job giving us that information and these images as well, so shout out to him. You may hear his voice at some point throughout the day, but he's pretty busy. He's jumping around from car to car, feeding me information, doing a fantastic job, so appreciate it. So far. Good look there at Austin O'Neill with that clean racetrack out ahead of him. We are coming around to complete lap number 34. So if you're the leader right now, again, I mentioned the fuel a minute ago, we're probably only about 6-ish laps away. And if we look at that Fusion livery paint scheme, there's a good look at him right there, that Greg Biffle tribute. We also see that he has teammates in the top 10, specifically Scrivener in the 70 and the 19 of Thomas as well. Now, as he is beginning to think about pit stops, he's going to be coordinating that with his teammates, because you got to have a drafting partner when you come out of the pits. If, again, should the caution not come out and we do get those green flag pit stops, we're going to be seeing these guys as they begin to pit with each other. We may also see some gamesmanship from the other teams. I mentioned earlier that Dog Bear, the other team that dominated qualifying, not really seeing them so far in the race as much. However, that very well might be by design. I look for those guys to pit together as well, and that's probably where we're going to begin to see those teammates starting to find each other after those initial pit stops. And then that, I think, is where the race is really going to begin to take shape, take form. Whereas this first run, it's all about just trying to figure out your car, figure out what's underneath you, get settled in, get some laps logged. As we take a good look there at the 43 of Mike Golightly, he's having a nice race so far, up 4 spots from where he started, and running currently in the 14th spot. And now we are looking at the, like I said, the 14th place car there, Michael Lightly. Doing a good job there in solidly in the 14th. And again, just kind of holding stations. So we're just going to see kind of how these guys go as we begin to cycle through some of these other drivers here. The 604 of James Jones, currently in 7th, started from 33rd. He's probably going to be our biggest mover so far. So, and that is also the nature of draft racing, because you can gain a lot of spots very quickly. You can also lose a lot of spots very quickly, but Jones doing a fantastic job there in 7th so far, having a really good race. Coming all the way back from dead last. So 33 drivers started this race today as as we continue to work through the laps here. Good look there at Davis Braun once again. He was currently, or previously, leading that second line and got that second line all the way back up to the lead pack. Nicely done by him. Started second. He was our outside pole sitter, but currently running 17th. And again, qualifying is important here, but you can have a bad qualifying and still have a really good race, and the opposite is also true. Davis currently doing a really nice job there in 17th. Not panicking, and you can see there kind of the throttle modulation again that I was talking about, where the run gets generated. He didn't quite want to take it. He's just trying to maintain that gap, maintain a safe space around him. And as a good look at the field there as we begin to kind of stretch out a little bit as they come around to complete yet another lap. We're going to begin lap 39. I mentioned the fuel. About 40 laps for these leaders, give or take. So we're going to be keeping a close eye on the pit lane and seeing who is going to be ducking down for some fuel. We also want to look and see what kind of tires they're going to be taking. We should note at this point in time, these drivers, they have 8 sets of tires to include the set that they started the race on. So we want to be judicious with that. If we get a big run of cautions, we may want to save those tires later on. I don't think in this particular instance we're going to see a lot of fuel only or 2-tire stops. I think we're going to see a lot of 4 tires for this first go around, but we are going to definitely be keeping an eye on that, just because that is something that's going to come into play at some point throughout this race, is that limited tire allocation. Now we're jumping on board with the 600, currently up in second, Chris Wilhite. He has been really locked onto the bumper of Austin O'Neill really since lap 1. And those two guys working really well together, and you can see as he kind of gets right up on there and gives our leader a quick push, a quick shove. Again, there's nothing wrong with that right there. That is expected in this style of racing. And you can see as we work our day down the back straightaway, he's going to give him a good push there. There's a bit of a gap that's going to be developing to the car behind him, but you don't want to do it in the corners. You saw as they entered turn 3 there, he backed off, gave Austin the chance to make sure that he can make the corner. Gives him a quick bump here coming into the trial. Want to be careful there. You can do it, but like I said earlier, those cars are very light going through that section of the racetrack, so you want to be very judicious. Make sure you're squared up with that contact. You can see him backing off here a little bit into the corners as well, and giving Austin the space that he needs to navigate that 31-degree high banked corner there. And then as soon as they're back on the straightaway, there he goes right there. And again, there's nothing wrong with what's happening right here. I want to be very clear for those of you who may not be super familiar, as we're starting to get some calls from drivers that are pitting. The 262 of Scott Kukas is calling out. He's pitting this lap. The 189 says he's going to be in. We have eyes on the leaders as Wilhite peels off. O'Neill stays out. We have takers in pit road for the first time today. Wilhite coming down. It looks like there's going to be 4 cars with him, which is a good number for when these guys get back on track together. We want to make sure that we have drafting help, and 3 is probably not enough. 6 is too many. 4 is a really good number for these guys here. Getting into that pick box is so crucial at any given time throughout the race, especially here where you want to make sure you have those drafting partners. A mistake here could cause you to lose the draft, as we see some more back markers coming down pit lane here. Those are going to be the 2 guys that have lost the draft. These 4 guys here exiting the pits clean, green, and here we go as we have a big group of cars coming in. Looks like we have about 7 of them hitting the pit lane here, including that of Austin O'Neill. See a little lock up there from the 60 car, that Tabasco covered car. The pit lane speed limit being 60 miles an hour. These NASCAR race cars do not have a pit limiter. It's all manual here. And when you have been on track and have not touched those brakes for 42 laps, those brakes are going to be cold. Very easy to lock up. As we see, one car misses his stall. He's going to have to back up a little bit here. It looks like the 70 of Scrivener. No, I'm sorry. It's the 87 Sebastian Jackson missed his pit stall. That's going to hurt his chances here. He's probably going to lose the draft because of this. As we look to see more drivers coming in this time, we have one car coming off by themselves. As we see Austin O'Neill coming out of the pits. Such a complex, such a complicated sequence of events getting into these green flag pit stops. You need to make sure you're getting every last little bit of time there, but you also cannot exceed that speed limit. You also don't want to spin out on pit exit. You have to remain below the banking until that blend line that you're seeing. You can see the blue cone in the distance right there. You must pass that before you can get back up on track. So a lot of things to think about here as we get into the pit cycle. And as you can see, what that does on track as well is we see a little bit of 3 wide action there coming off of 4. And we have more cars coming in. But what's going to happen is as these guys cycle through the pits, as we see more lockups there looking from my feed here, as these guys cycle through the pits, that pack's going to get jumbled up. But very soon you're going to see that they will very quickly get back all together once again in one big pack. And at this point in time, we're probably going to see some more 2 wide action as we see Robert Northway in the 46 slide through his pit stall. We're on board with Davis Braun right here. And then as these guys go through their service, we're seeing a lot of 4 tires, just like I thought we would. And this big pack coming out of the pits. Now, as you come out of the pit lane right here, this is when you want to get on the throttle. This is where you want to punch it, but they have to stay on the apron. You see the banking here, but they must stay on the apron like they are doing here, and they got to be very careful. You don't have the banking and you're on the tires. Very easy to lose the car here. You're pushing for everything you can get, so you want to be very careful, but you also want to push as much as you can. And then there's that checkered black and white blend line right there. They have to make sure that they're past that blue cone and within that sequence there before they can jump up. And as you can see, now we have a big, huge pack that is all jumping up together. So we're going to let this play out just a little bit before we kind of settle things back down to get you who's ahead, who's still out there, who may have gained spots, who may have lost spots. So we're going to have to let that play out for a lap or 2. But it looks as though everybody is safely through the initial pit stop sequence, and we stay green. We are pit for the first 46 laps of this race. The only time we've come close to the caution was a spin by Wayne Hutchinson there in the trioval. Otherwise, very clean, very, very, very clean from these drivers, and we will continue to work through these laps. And as you can see here, there's a lot of different groups that are kind of developing. There's a lot of space between the cars right now. That's going to be coinciding with the actual pit cycles, and you're going to see the run groups here. But again, we're probably going to see these guys jumbled back together as we're there with Daniel Thomas in the 60 car, showing him that Tabasco liveried car. Good looking race car there. And we saw him kind of lock him up a little bit. That cost him a little bit of time. That's going to be because he was running in the top 5, I believe, before he came in. And that little lockup there cost him a lot of time there as through that pit cycle. So it'll be interesting to see where he can come from and how he handles this. Again, from a handling standpoint too, if you're up front, near the front, your car feels really great. There's not a lot of air moving around, but if you're in the pack, you're going to see a lot of that as we jump on board with Oscar Moten in the 94. Running by himself, so that's obviously not something you want to have, but he's currently in 17th place, so That kind of tells you just how everything is all jumbled up here after the pit sequences. So you would think he's a little further back than that, but not out of it by any means. He is going to need some help to get caught back up to that lead group, but again, this is a good driver's point of view for what the driver's actually looking at through their windshield. And as we jump outside, oh, he does have help. Okay, great. He's got some guys with him, so they should be able to run those guys down with hopefully a little bit of ease. We should be able to see those groups come together. There's also another group behind him, and again, this is a result of those pit stops. Now, again, as these cars and as these groups begin to get their footing on the racetrack and they begin to get back into that rhythm, they will come back together, and eventually we're probably going to see that they're all jumbled up in one big pack. We saw how quickly the 25 car was able to lead his line earlier in the race when the gap developed there, so I'd imagine the same thing's going to play out here again. But at the front, we do have some changes after the pit stops. Brian Scrivener has jumped up to second. Austin O'Neill continues to lead. Will Height is still in third place, so he's still right there in the mix there in the 600 car. We have the 01 and we have the 43 rounding out the top 5 there as they work around some lap traffic once again. And we are now at working lap 50. We are a quarter of the way through this Intimidator round here at Daytona International Speedway. We jump on here with Michael Halved-Dyson, and I do apologize if I messed up that pronunciation. This was our round 1 winner. Now, the Major Series is renowned for having a different car and track combo for every race. Our season opener a few weeks back, we were at Alton Park in TCR style cars, and it is night and day difference from what we're doing today. But he won that first round. He's currently sitting in the 4th position from a 26 starting place, so very methodically worked his way through the front here in the opening stages of this race. So driving that 81 machine, currently 4th in line, looking for another victory, see if he can get the season going with back-to-back wins here in the European region for the Major Series. So good looking race car there, and we will continue to monitor that progress as it begins to play out here as we're now in the second quarter of the race. If we break this thing down into 4 50-lap segments, we're starting that second segment there as we're here with Davis Braun once again, and we got a little 2x2 action there. And this is where you want to be careful because we're not deep enough in the race yet where you want to start doing some crazy moves or anything like that, but we are also far enough along that you need to start planning how you're going to get to the front. You want to be very judicious, very high percentage moves at this point. Again, that big wreck lurking right around the corner as we start to see some 2x2 action here. They can run 2x2 all day long. That's not a big deal, especially right now, right after pit stops when the cars are handling well. What we want to do here is we want to make sure that we are very judicious and very high percentage with those moves as we have our first lead change of the day cutting to the front. Will Height in that 600 car has just taken the lead from Austin O'Neill. Looks as though he went on that high side, got that working, dropped down right in front of him, and now we have new leaders. And what's going to make this interesting for O'Neill is this is the first time he has not been leading. So what will his car do in traffic without that clean air? What's the handling going to be like? How is he going to respond? So we're very interesting to see how that's going to play out as we see him getting a run here off of turn 2. Oh, and he cuts to the inside. Want to be careful there. You cannot go below that double yellow line to make a move. That was clean. That was fair. But we want to be careful. Make sure we don't go below that line there. And as we cut to Daniel Thomas and Ben Plowman, Thomas was 3 wide in the tri-oval a couple of laps ago. He kind of got shuffled back a little bit, so he's going to be regathering it. Plowman currently in the 10th position as we continue to work through this Intimidator around, working that high side. Keep in mind, this was the car where him and his teammates got to the lead briefly earlier on in this race. Or not the lead, I'm sorry. They used that high line to go from about 17th up to about 7th, and then they jumped into the low line. So we know those cars are strong. We know that they can push well. So we'll see if they can make that outside lane work again. This time around, though, there are 2 cars between Bauman and his teammate ahead of him as we jump on board with Mike Golightly here in the 7th place car. He is on that low side as they work through the tri-oval. Good look at how the run's generated. Now Mike is looking in the car there. He's looking behind him to see where that run's coming from. As we see the top side there gather a little bit of momentum, but you can see here this is a perfect example of the ebbs and flows of the runs as the race progresses. Robert Northway there right behind Michael Lightly. He's a guy you want to keep an eye on too. He's always a threat in these races as well, so we'll keep an eye on that. But these onboard shots, they're just amazing. I could watch them all day long. It tells so much of the story as these drivers are working hard inside these virtual NASCAR machines. that it is very easy for the car to shoot all the way up to that high side. So if I'm in Belval's position there, it looks as though it looked like they were going to be coming up on him, so he tried to take evasive maneuvers, and that led to this chain reaction. Total racing incident as we have pit stops, which is curious given we just completed a green flag cycle, but pit road's busy as we go down into the pits. These guys, I would anticipate there's going to be some fuel-only stops in this particular one as they come down the pit lane speed lane at 60 miles an hour. There's a great shot of it coming right into your living room. Austin O'Neill overshoots his pit just a little bit, and it does look as though we're doing fuel-only for O'Neill. Will Height behind him, taking 4 tires, which is also an interesting call. Remember, we do have tire limitations. Will Height's going to lose some spots. It does look like the first few cars took fuel only. It also looks like we're going to have a new leader coming out of this pit stop. We'll get that reset for you here. We jump on board with Jonas Gunnarsson. He started 20th. Now he is in the lead. Well done, sir. Well done to you. So we're starting to see a little bit of strategy play out. We saw some cars stay out. I'm not sure if those are lap down cars or trying to get a wave around. We'll sort that out for you here shortly.
Administering an EOL,
but we do have some guys that are. We saw 2 stops. We saw 4 stops. We saw fuel only. We saw all 3 options in that particular pit sequence. So some of the strategies starting to be slowly unraveled as this race begins to play out. I'm also hearing from race control that car number 82 is going to be getting an end-of-line penalty for incident responsibility with the 101 and the 189. So that's going to be Tom Dreiling. He will be restarting at the rear of this field.
And a reminder, Major's rules state that you cannot change lanes on a restart prior to the start finish line. So please do not change lanes.
Just listening to some guidance that I'm hearing from race control to these drivers regarding changing lines from the start finish line on the restart, which is one of the rules. That'll get you a black flag, and that'll give you a bad day. As we jump aboard the leader, I am hearing that the cars in front are attempting the wave around to try to get 1 or more of their laps back. Keep in mind, here in NASCAR races, we do have the lucky dog. The first car 1 lap down when the caution comes out, so long as they are not a part of the incident that induced that caution, they do get a free lap back. And as you can see, those cars are now pulling away from the pace car at the instruction of race control. They will cycle back around to the back of the pack as we take a good look here at the 242 of Scott Kukas, as he is currently running 33rd. He was one of the drivers involved in some of those incidents earlier in the day. He's going to be coming back around, trying to get back into this thing. Still a lot of time. Still a lot of time left, so he is not out of this race by any means. Same with Wayne Hutchinson. You see there in shot in that 17 car. He was spinning out here earlier in the race. Now he's going to be back on the lead lap, I believe. And he's also not out of this race. Wayne's a pretty good super speedway racer, so I would expect to see him in the mix before it's all said and done today. But it does. He did take damage from a crash earlier. As we're just as a quick reminder, there it is right there. Quick little spin, some contact there on the right rear. Did a really nice job there, actually. We didn't see this in our previous replays. Did a really good job of keeping it outside of that inside wall. That will allow him to continue on. Now, one thing to point out before we go green here, actually, we're about to go green, so we'll table that discussion here for a minute. Brian Scrivener in that 70 car and the 13 car, the aforementioned 13 car of Jonas there in the bottom line as we go green. And remember what I said earlier about team cars beginning to find each other, that top line, nose to tail. We got 2 fusion cars together, so we'll see if those guys can work together on that outside line as we go back to green. Green flag is back in the air. We're in the restart zone, and the drivers are accelerating past the start finish line, and we work our way through trioval one more time. It's a good launch on the bottom for the 13 car there. But that top line, it does look pretty organized, and this is very typical of restarts. The leader very much has an advantage. You cannot go until the leader does, so you're watching that. There's a lot of tiny little games you can play there And even the slightest little jump on a restart is going to pay dividends, as you can see here with that 4-car breakaway there on the inside line. But that top line getting organized. I mentioned it a second ago. You can see those two teammates. They are locked together right now. The 60 car right back there in the mix as well. He's shown to be strong early on, and they're making a run there on the outside. As we jump back, they're a little bit jumbled, and we have a caution. Yellow's out once again. I'm seeing a lot of smoke. I'm seeing some slow cars. There's a car there on the inside wall. Let's we got a we'll have a replay here momentarily for you to kind of figure out what happened, as we are under yellow for the second time. Kukas there, pretty violent spin. Not sure what happened there. Touched the inside wall. We'll have to see how much damage he carries from that. There's a car right behind him. Did a really nice job to avoid that. So it does look like that right front's wrinkled up a little bit. And yeah, oh man, how would you like to be that guy? You're just minding your own business there on the apron, and all of a sudden that 242 flashes right in front of you. Um, so yeah, so that incident is what has put us under yellow. So I don't anticipate that we're going to see any more pit stops. We didn't even get a full lap of racing in. Now, where you might see some guys come in are those drivers that took the wave around on the previous caution. As part of the wave around process, those drivers would not have been able to pit during that sequence. So I would anticipate those guys near the back of the pack probably coming in, getting more fuel, getting more tires. We'll have to keep an eye on that for you. Regarding Kukas, we saw that hit there on the front of the car on that inside wall. The front of these cars, as we see a taker from about, we'll call it 12th place, give or take. Looks like they're coming in there. A couple of takers, actually. Let's see. Nope, we're faking it out. We're doing a fake out. So little gamesmanship going on there. But to go back to the Kukas incident, that front fender there, so crucial for Arrow. So we want to see if he's going to get that damage fixed. Now, these cars, they do have a spare car, meaning as we look at Vince Harley with the pit stops, he's taking, it looks like 4 tires and some of these back markers, like I was expecting, coming in to get their service since they were unable to do so the previous go around. But for those cars that have been damaged, there is a spare car. You can come in, you can reset. You only get 1 per race. There's also a damaged vehicle policy, for lack of a better term, where you are able to make repairs to your current car. So it'll be interesting to see if Kukas takes his spare car there. Again, that front fender being so crucial for Arrow here at the speeds that we're running. I would imagine he's taking time to actually repair the damage rather than pull out that spare car based off of, as we see him on screen there, based off of the length of time he's sitting in the pits. He's probably getting some of that repairs done. And we have time here at Daytona for that to happen. These caution laps, they run about 90 seconds. You can get a lot of repair work done in that amount of time. So Kukas taking advantage of this. The field just now entering into turn 3. So even now, Kukas still has a good 30 seconds or so before he needs to get pulled away. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that, though. That wrinkle there. And I'm also getting a message from Race Control. That particular incident that put us under this current yellow, there will be no further action. They're viewing it as a netcode incident only. So that is the decision handed down by Race Control. As we continue to slowly circulate around the Daytona International Speedway. Only our second caution of the day. We ran the first, I believe it was 56 laps under green. And then we had our first caution of the day. And then the second one quickly came out. Didn't even get a full lap in this go around. But again, Race Control saying it was a netcode incident. So we're getting set to go green here next time by. Lights are out of the pace vehicle. Guys are getting doubled up. And the last restart, that inside line with Jonas Gunnarsson, he got a really nice jump. I alluded to it during the actual restart. he was able to get clear of those 2 fusion cars there at the top. We'll see if they can get a bit of a better launch and maybe even try to take the lead here. Going to be interesting to see how that plays out, because the more restarts you get, the fewer tricks you have up your sleeve, because you end up using them all. So we want to see if that outside line can get going a little bit better today. Again, those 2 teammates, nose to tail, and then the 60 car, who we know is a strong car, as he's proven so far here in the early going. So we're definitely going to be keeping an eye on those. The 13, he's ready to go. He's up there trying to get that pace car to go a little bit faster, I think. But we're ready to get going. He's ready to go. We're ready to go as they work through turn 3 and 4, and we will be back under green here momentarily. Good look at Patrick Kopp there. He just beat the pace car out of the pits. He is trying to get circulated back around. He's going to have a tall order, though. He's just now entering the back straightaway. So he is going to be up to speed, though, and he has somebody there in front of him that they can draft with, so maybe they can get caught up before the big field comes up to speed. You can see on the overlay there, they're probably going to be able to catch him there, so I think they're going to be squared away, and we will continue to keep an eye on those guys in the back, see what they can do, as we are now out of turn 4. The pace car is going to be pulling off momentarily. Barney has that green flag back in his hand. We're in the restart zone. Flags waving. We are back to racing. And once again, Gunderson, a really nice start. But this time he gets way far out ahead of his pusher behind him. We want to be careful with that. You don't want to get too far ahead. Otherwise, it'll give those cars behind you an opportunity to just go right past you, and then you will find yourself going into the back very quickly. But he was able to stay in front this go around. As we see those 2 fusion cars drop down to the inside line. The top line's kind of dissipating here on this restart. As we see another car jump down to the inside line about 2/3 of the way back. Not a lot of energy up there. We're going to have to see if that generates as the run goes on. Curious decision there from the Fusion guys. I kind of thought maybe they tried to get a run going to see if they could get out of control this, but they made the decision. So again, we're still early on. Oh, as we're wrecking coming to the tri-oval. Can they avoid it? No, they cannot. This is going to be big. This is going to be really big. This is what I was talking about earlier in the day, where you want to avoid that big wreck. These guys do not get far from each other, and usually a single car incident morphs into a massive crash. We are under yellow for the 3rd time. Looked like it started when the 94 got turned there. Not sure how he got turned, as we see Jones trying to take avoiding action there. There's just nowhere to go. It looks as though coming into the tri-oval, he potentially did get turned there again. I'd mentioned it before. Coming into the tri-oval, so easy to lose these cars, especially on a restart where people are jockeying for position. Here's a good view of it. Oh, and no, it wasn't that at all. It was just side-to-side contact, and unfortunately, they shot up into the wall there. So the 94, and I didn't see the car with whom he made that initial contact, but guys behind him, just nowhere to go, unfortunately. Race control is going to be busy. This is a ride with Bill Daly as we come through the tri-oval, and that right there, you can see just nowhere to go, nowhere to go. You can't go low because you have cars on the inside, and you're all the way up against the wall. And that's unfortunately the nature of the beast with this particular style of racing. Bill Daly likely going to have some suspension damage from that, yeah, just nowhere to go for these guys, unfortunately. And it's this racing, it's exciting to watch. But these big wrecks, it is just the nature of the beast. And you kind of have to have the mindset that it's almost 50-50 that you're going to be involved in a wreck like this or have a good finish. So, and that goes back to the strategy call that I mentioned earlier, where some guys will drop back to the back very much on purpose to avoid incidents just like that. We haven't seen that really today so far. Most of the front runners want to stay there, but that is an option available. We may see some guys begin to do that here once we go back green, since we have had now 3 cautions back to back, but our first major incident of the day. Quick peek of the weather there. Currently 72 degrees. We have some clouds going over the speedway right now as we are looking for pit stops. No, yes, no. The gamesmanship. The gamesmanship. You gotta love it. A lot of guys near the back. Now, these
If
are
anybody has
probably
a
going
black
to
flag
be
for entering the pit lane
drivers that
and
were
when they
involved in
spun,
that wreck,
please
coming
tell
down to
me and I
take new
can clear
tires,
it, but
coming
I
down to
cannot
fix
see the
damage. There's probably going
iRacing
to be a
UI
lot of
and
spare
stop
cars that
driving.
are used in this particular incident. Pit road's a very busy place from about 7th on back. Yeah, we can see a lot of cars there. As they're taking their repairs, it is kind of as I suspected. A lot of these cars were involved in that wreck. They are taking their damage. Now, the way you can tell if they're taking a fast car or not is just what we saw. Those cars sitting there for an extended period of time. When they take the spare car, the car's going to blink out for a second and then it will respawn, for lack of a better term. So that's how you can tell the difference between whether they're sitting there getting actual repairs or if they're taking that spare car. In the case of most of these drivers, it does look as though they are taking just the actual repairs. Again, I mentioned it just a couple minutes ago with the two with Scott Kukas, right? These caution laps at Daytona, they do last for a while, so you can get a lot of repair work done during that time. And then as the race goes on, as we get more cautions, you can duck back in and continue to affect those repairs as well. Knowing that as long as you can stay in the draft, you can deal with a damaged race car and slowly get the thing back up to where it was before, as we can work off that damaged repair clock, as everybody has now cleared the pit lane with one car, excuse me, with one car down at the far end still taking their repairs. As
Car
I am now
43 was
hearing
given a
from
end of
race
line
control,
for incident responsibility
car number
causing a safety
43 is
car.
being deemed as responsible for the incident. They are receiving an end of line penalty. As we look at the 94 of Oscar Moten, still sitting there, he, of course, taking the brunt of that wreck that just happened here as he went spinning hard up into the outside wall there through the tri-oval. Mike Golightly also being, oh, I'm sorry, he is the card that was deemed as responsible for him. He will be dropping back here. You'll see him peel off right there, just like that. And he will drop to the end of the line to serve that penalty. We do have live racing stewards here in the major series across all splits, all broadcasts. It's one of the many things that makes this series such a great series to be a part of. Something that was recently introduced, and as we are coming to another replay here, what do you got for us, Khaled? He is coming off of, I'm going to guess that's turn 4 here. Coming down, and yeah, he just comes down on the 94 there. So, unfortunate. Again, there's nothing. There's no bad intent there by any means. It's just, again, that tri-oval is such a tricky part of the racetrack. So it is unfortunate, and I've been on the receiving end. I've been the guy that started Big Rex. You feel bad. You do feel bad for being the guy that started all of that. But at the same time, it happens. You got to move on, and that's what we're about to do, because the pace car is once again, lights are off. We're going to see him pull off. We're about to see the green flag fly once again. Jonas Gunnarsson continues to lead. We have the 81 car on the outside, though, so new blood on that outside lane. We'll see what they can do. Jonas with yet another really good initial launch as they work through the tri-oval coming down towards turn number 1. It's going to be interesting as the 81 was able to get in line behind the 18 car. Those are teammates. We're going to see if those guys can work together as we begin to get back into the flow of things. There is only a single car on the outside line. These guys got single file real quick on this restart. So those guys on the outside line, they're going to fall back they'll be joining up together and then begin to try to work their way back towards the front. As you can see, Daniel Thomas there in the 60 car. Nice little comeback drive for him. He was all the way down in 17th at one point. Now he's back up here in the top 6 as they work their way through 3 and 4. First completed green flag lap that we've had here in a little while. Again, we ran the first 50 or so laps under green, and then it's been a bit of a caution fest since then. But we're back to racing now, so single file. I think these guys are probably going to settle in for at least a little bit. There's going to come a point in time in the race where they're just going to want to settle in and get some laps run. We're going to have to get to the end eventually, right? So they're going to want to just settle in, get these laps clicked off, get through another potential green flag pit stop cycle, and continue to run through the race. We are currently working lap 72, so we're about a third of the way through this race. It's gone by pretty quickly so far, and there's some interesting strategies that are beginning to develop. We're starting to see a couple of those teams beginning to find themselves on the racetrack, and as that begins to play out, as we see some dog bear guys there on that high side, Robert Northway, currently with whom we ride, but that outside line there, the 17, the 8, and the 56, all part of the dog bear team. Now, those guys, along with Fusion, dominated the qualifying aspect of this race. We haven't seen them make a lot of noise so far in the actual race yet, but here we sit. Again, we're not even halfway through this race, so as we begin to let the strategies play out, these guys are going to begin to find themselves, and we can see these 3 teammates nose to tail. They're probably going to be working together for the majority of the rest of this race as we ride there with Wayne Hutchinson. Nice comeback for him, as we saw on the replay earlier, spinning through the tri-oval at one point, back on the lead lap, currently 15th, working that outside lane, and he's got teammates behind him. So we're in good positioning here, and he is absolutely not out of this race by any means. Still a very, very long way to go. Nice little comeback here for Patrick Kopp as well. He'd been trapped a lap down for quite a while. I believe he is now back on that lead lap, though, up to 20th position, and he's just kind of logging laps right now, trying to utilize the drivers around him for the assistance that he needs to keep working forward. They are a little bit behind the main group. I believe he is actually leading this. Yep, he is. He's leading that second pack as we jump aboard Davis Braun's 25 machine. He is the last car in that lead pack, and again, he wants to be very careful that he does not lose that lead pack in front of him. Again, all it takes is about 3 car lengths, and then you've lost the draft. Now, if that does happen to him, obviously we hope it doesn't, but if it does, he does have the benefit of that pack behind him that he can tack on with, so we're still in a good spot here, and he's also in a good spot if we see another wreck happen where he'll have some time to try to avoid it. So in a pretty safe spot for the moment, as we continue to circulate around the racetrack. We got some 2x2 action where he is, so he's being very careful as we work through the tri-oval one more time. But having a good race so far. He's shown he can lead the line. He looks like he can push as well. And you want to have a car that can do both. Some cars are set up to be pushy cars. Some cars are set up to be in the lead. You want to have a car that can do both. So that is also another aspect of this strategy game that we are going to see play out as this race continues to progress. As we see Patrick Kopp once again leading that back line, it does look as though that gap is starting to shrink a little bit as that second line is running down that lead line. So looks pretty organized. We're seeing them stumble over each other a little bit there. That's just a product of runs that are being generated through the arrow push. But we see them get real organized there out of the corner, and that's exactly what you want to see if you're trying to run down guys ahead of you. So those guys doing a really nice job there, keeping it tidy, keeping it clean, and running these guys down. We see Bill Daly there in the 36th. He is, we can see the lap comparison there. Now, 4/10 of a second doesn't seem like a whole lot, but considering in qualifying we were looking at literal thousandths of a second, every teeny tiny little bit matters. Again, the draft plays a big role into that. A 46-second lap time, you're ripping around here pretty good. I think the fastest times that we saw during the qualifying events throughout the week, I believe we're 45.9. So we're ripping around here pretty good. That's going to equate to an average speed of around 193-ish miles an hour. So that's moving. That's a pretty good clip. And as we jump actually on the onboard, we can see here the run gets generated. We can see here he backs off the throttle a little bit, maintains that gap. Again, there's he's taking the discretion is the better part of valor approach in that we're still pretty early here in the race. There's no need to use that run quite yet. No need to be super aggressive at the moment. But you just want to maintain a good gap there like we see. And I mentioned so easy in the trial with these cars. You saw a real good example of it right there with the car in front of him, kind of bouncing around a little bit. It's so easy to just hit a bump the wrong way or have a tire scrape that apron or even just an arrow push from the car in front of you, especially in that triover area. You can see the car just shot out from underneath him and very easy to happen. So we want to give a shout out to these guys for just the great job that they've been doing so far here as we look at Robert Northway. Always a factor here in these races, but he's currently kind of in mid-pack. He's near the tail end of that first lead pack there on that outside line. He may just be biding his time. He may just not be pulling aggressive moves yet, or he may be struggling a little bit. We'll just have to let that play out, but I would not count that 46 car out yet. Very, very good race car driver, multiple wins here in the series, so never count out that 46 car as we are working our way through turns 1 and 2 one more time. Such a great shot here. As you can see the effect of those high banks, and then you can see the speed there down that back straightaway as we jump on board with Ray Partridge, giving his teammate a quick bump there, backing off as we go into the corner, working our way through 3 and 4 right now. That banking in the corners here at Daytona is literally as tall as a 4-story building with those 31 degrees of banking. Just an incredible place to run a race here. Known in the real world for the Daytona 500, also known for the Rolex 24 that we just had a few days ago, and just an incredible facility. It is well named the World Center of Racing. It has earned its reputation, and it is always a fantastic time when you get to race around this place. As we look on board here with Ben Plowman, remember he's hooked up with his teammate once again. These were the guys that really made that first push on that outside line, and they're nose to tail again. Again, currently just running P9, P10, and we are just going to run around here for a little bit, but we're going to keep an eye on those guys as well. Welcome back. I had to step aside for a second, take a little sip of water, appreciate your patience there. Um, as we get another fantastic drone shot high in the skies above the super speedway, Patrick Kopp hanging in there, having not quite having the race that he would have wanted so far, but he is still currently on the lead lap. He's hanging in there. He's in the draft, and he is still running. And that is another thing that this major series produces. We have drivers from across all disciplines, but one thing that is consistent, regardless of the region, regardless of the split, these guys, they're going to stay out there. They're going to finish the race, if at all possible, regardless of how the race is going. Another guy currently having a bit of a rough day, the 94, we jump aboard with him right now. He, of course, part of that big wreck that we had on our last caution period, hard up into that outside wall. I don't believe he took his fast repair. He still does have that in the bank here, but he's currently running 32nd, as you can see there on the graphic, a couple laps down. He'll be working to try to get those laps back again. We have the lucky dog, we have the wave around, a couple different options available to try to get those laps back. But again, you want to try to keep running, even if you have a damaged car, even if you're not quite having the race that you were wanting, just because, especially here at Daytona, that big crash can happen at any given time. And while we feel for anybody who does get involved in a crash, from a driver's perspective, their misfortune is your opportunity. So you keep pounding away, you keep plugging at it, and you stay on that racetrack for as long as you possibly can. And that's what Oscar is in the process of doing right now. He is in that draft, so we do see he is hanging in there. He is hanging on. I mentioned earlier, you can have damage, but as long as you are in the draft here, you're still going to be in the mix, and he'll probably get more repairs conducted on that race car as we move throughout the day, as these cautions begin to come again, should they come out. So he's not out of this yet, even though he's 30, or even though he is 2 laps down. He's not out of it by any means. No driver is at this stage of the race. As we take a peek at Michael Hogg for the first time today, currently 18th, started 19th. He was near the front there for a little while, currently leading that outside line, trying to get some momentum there, see what kind of moves that they can make. As we are now working lap 87. We are currently about 13 laps from halfway, guys. This race is absolutely flying by so far, and it has been a good one. Up front, Jonas Gunnarsson continues to lead. He held the lead. He held the lead after pit stops 2 cautions ago, and he has held on to the lead through the restart. As we see those 2 team cars behind them, they appear to be just content to run right behind Jonas right now. And then behind him, we see 2 of those Fusion cars sporting the Greg Biffle tribute livery. Those guys running nose to tail. That's our pole sitter, Austin O'Neill, who dominated the first part of this race, along with his teammate Brian Scrivener right with him there. And then right behind them, we have the 60 of Earl Thomas. He has been right there in the mix. Or Daniel Thomas, excuse me, my apologies. He has been right there in the mix all day long. He did fall back briefly, but it took him all of about 4 laps to get right back into that lead pack. So obviously a very strong Tabasco race car there. Good looking race car though. Every time I see it, it's making me hungry. I'm not going to lie to you. But he's holding strong, and I think he's probably going to be a factor as we begin to run out these laps and start to creep towards the second half of this race. Just behind him, we have, as we look at Davis Braun here in 24th, he started second. He's fallen back. He's led some packs. He was right there in the mix earlier on. Currently 24th, but again, he's probably okay with that, not making any crazy moves or anything like that. He's probably going to end up back here at the front. He proved early on that he has a fast race car, as he did hold serve there at the front early on. I believe he ran 3rd for a good long while that opening run, and then leading that second pack where he ran down the first pack in our first green flag run. So he had a good car. We're just going to have to keep an eye on that, see if he can make his way back to the front. Just in front of him of the Dog Bear trio, they're still working together. They're still working that outside as Davis actually jumps up and joins those guys on the outside. That particular Dog Bear, those 3 guys led by It looks like Wayne Hutchinson and then Ray Partridge and Claude Belval, who was involved in an earlier incident, but able to make the comeback and still holding strong there on the lead lap, working with his teammates. And we can see those guys as they continue to work together. That high side starting to get a little bit organized. Not really a run being generated yet, but starting to get a little bit organized. We see the 43 on the inside there of Mike Golightly. He had an end of line penalty at this last restart. He is starting to recover nicely as well, as he is currently 19th. I believe he restarted around the 27th position, and so a nice recovery for him so far. Again, no need to be super aggressive. We're not even halfway through this race. We just want to log some laps at this point, as we see that dog bear trio coming around on that high side once again. They really like working that high side. I did see out of the corner of my eye that they kind of generated a run and just wanted to take advantage of it to see what it would do for them. And that is all part of the learning process here at Daytona. That learning never stops. This race is not a physically demanding race. Even in the real world, real life drivers will tell you the race itself, not that physically demanding. The racetrack is fairly easy to drive. In single car packs, it is the mental strain that goes on with these drivers. They are having to make anywhere from 15 to 20 second split seconds decisions per lap. You are mentally absolutely drained at the end of this race, which is always an interesting time to bring up the fact that these drivers in the major series, they are allowed to compete across all three regions, and we do have a few drivers that are doing just that. We had the international region that ran last night, and we are currently in the European region. The Americas region will take place later on today, and there are drivers that are competing in all three of those. I don't know how they are able to do that, because I would be absolutely mentally drained at the end of one of these things. Couldn't imagine driving three of them, but props to them as they continue to work their way through this majors campaign. As we are now looking at Michael Haflidyson, as he is running in the third place car. I mentioned these team cars. He'd be the second team car in the line there. Looking to see if maybe they were going to work together to try to get around Jonas there in the lead. That did not happen. They seem very content to just kind of sit where they are right now. We see he last pitted on lap 59, so ordinarily we'd be coming pretty close to green flag pit stops, but keep in mind, we have had multiple cautions, and for those cautions, you're obviously using less fuel. General rule of thumb for caution to green is every 2 laps under caution equals 1 green flag lap. So those guys, when those cautions came out, especially those drivers that pitted on that first caution that stayed out, I guarantee you they were lifting, coasting, probably even shutting their engines off, trying to save as much fuel as they can. So with all of that in mind, we're probably still a good 15 to 20 laps away from green flag stops actually happening. But we can start to kind of have that in the back of our mind as well. When did those pit stops take place? As you saw there, the top 10 all pitted on lap 59, the same lap as the 81 here. So we're going to keep an eye on that top 10 here as we begin to work our way towards potentially round 2 of the flag stops. Good look there at Jonas Gunnarsson. Currently leading. He has been up front ever since we have restarted this race. No sponsors on that car. Very, very clean. The matte black, always a good look there. Another fun thing about the Major Series, all of these guys doing such a really nice job of getting these cars all painted up, looking fantastic. But there's nothing wrong with the minimalist approach either, especially when the car's leading the race. So he's doing a great job out front, managing the gaps, staying in line. And he has those guys behind him that, again, looks like we're just content to run here for the next little bit. Started 20th did Jonas. He is having himself a very nice day. He kind of was able to get to that spot through different pit strategies. And so we see here, my guess would probably be a 2-tire stop on that initial round that got him to track position. As we flip over to Wayne Hutchinson, he's been working with his teammates here for the last little bit on that outside line as they're coming up on the 7 car. That is Wilhite, who ran in second place for the entire first run here. Again, that run took about 56 laps or so. He ran right behind our pole sitter, Austin O'Neill. So we know he's a good car. And then I mentioned Wayne earlier, involved in that incident, doing a fantastic job on the comeback trail. That outside line starting to get some momentum as we work through the trioval one more time. As this outside line actually making a very strong push as they're all the way up alongside the third place car on that bottom line. So, material runs are beginning to materialize here. We were going to have some proper racing here in just a little bit, as we see Wilhite leading that outside line now with Hutchinson and his 2 other teammates right behind him. And this outside line, very strong run as Wilhite's actually going to get pushed all the way to the lead as we're working turn 3. Can he make it stick? Will he come around? He has the push, but that inside line does tend to surge just a bit as we come into the trioval, and it is going to be Wilhite leading that lap. So that top line clearly working very well at the moment as we are working the halfway point here at the Intimidator round, the majors version of the Daytona 500. We will be exactly halfway home when they come back across the line this time by, as we see Wilhite very clearly in the lead now to the tune of about 3 full car lengths. I think all 3 guys would be able to pull down. But Hutchinson's electing to stay up top with his teammates, so that's going to make things very interesting as you see Jonas coming back on Chris there. Good view from the rear bumper. Because of that gap, I'm going to anticipate that outside line is going to get a very strong run going down into turn 1 here, because you can see Jonas as he pulls up to Chris. That's going to stymie Chris. That's going to stymie Jonas's momentum just a little bit. Which is probably going to allow this outside line to prevail briefly. However, it does seem as though that 7 car of Chris Wilhite, good leader. He was a good pusher earlier in the race. It just seems as though that top line wasn't quite as strong ever since he pulled down in front of the 13 car there. But we're still going to keep an eye on that top line. Wayne Hutchinson, he's been doing this a long time. He's really good at this style of racing. He knows what he's doing. So I don't think that top line is going to be going anywhere anytime soon. As you can see, right on cue, they begin to get a bit of a run going through the trioval. Down into turn 1, Hutchinson is abreast with the 13 car, and depending on the angle, no, the run does stymie out a little bit, but he is still creeping ahead. So we got some racing going on now, guys. Somebody told these guys we're in the second half, and it's like a switch just got flipped. So this is where it starts to get fun. Quick shot there of Joshua Hampton in that 89 car. Having a quiet day so far, started 23rd, currently 25th, as you can see there on the screen. Again, he may be one of those drivers where he is just kind of hanging out in the back, just letting things play out ahead of him, biding his time, and then we'll see what happens as this race begins to unwind as we are now in the second half. So if he's going to start making moves, he doesn't necessarily need to do anything quite yet. But if we're going to start working our way towards the front from this position, we're probably going to be looking at it around 50 to go or so is probably when we'll want to start to see those moves being made, and that's when the craziness is really probably going to start. Good look there at Belval in the 56, also one of those dog bear drivers. He's got two teammates right in front of him, and he has the 25 right behind him. So he's in a good spot. He's able to push well, as you see him get right up on the tail there of Ray Partridge. Hutchinson now dropping below the 7 car, and that is a pass for the lead. We have a new leader. So that outside line, which came all the way back from about 20th place at the restart, they have now worked their way all the way to the front. Hutchinson dropping there in front of his teammates, and now we see Ray Partridge as he's going to go by. So we may just be seeing a cascade of the high line prevailing. It looks as though both of those dog bear cars they have room. Are they going to drop down in front of Hutchinson so that the 3 team cars can remain nose to tail? They do, but they bring the 25 car with them. So interesting decision there. Interesting that they waited that long. The 25 car of Braun. We already know he's strong, so he's right there. He's also ridden that outside line all the way to the front. But I mentioned earlier, Dog Bear not really making a lot of noise in the first half, but here in the early stages of the second half, all of a sudden, they're in the lead. And we have 3 of those Dog Bear cars in the top 4. So that will be interesting to see how that plays out. In the meantime, conversely, Fusion, the other team that dominated the qualifying, they are still kind of in the mix, but they have faded just a little bit here in this particular run. So again, we're going to have to just wait and see how it all plays out. Things are going to just get more and more busy. That tension is beginning to build already. We're now in the second half of the races. We have pit stops. Guys coming into the pit lane here. We'll have to. It's the 7 car of Will Height. Oh, what happened here? I think he locked it up under braking. We're going to stay green, but that is going to be costly. That is incredibly costly because not only did he lose all of that track position, but he's also probably going to be by himself without a drafting partner, as we have a replay here coming off of the high banks there. And yep, he just locks him up under braking. So easy to do. I mentioned earlier the cold brakes, trying to get to that pit road speed limit. The harder you hit the brakes, the easier it is for that car to spin around. Incredibly easy to do. Tough break for Chris there. As the field comes around and Jeff Schmeier might go lightly. We have a couple of other takers here on pit road. Again, interesting that they're coming to pit lane on their own. Again, you've got to have that drafting help. So this is a curious decision for Matthew Crisp there in the 18 car. He had his teammate right there with him in the 81. We've documented both of those cars earlier in the race. So a little curious as to why he's pitting all by himself. I am hearing Khaled's giving me information here saying that he pitted earlier on, so thank you for that. So he had to pit right then and there for fuel. We have a change at the front. Jeff Schmeier is in the lead as we see a couple more takers in pit road. And in this particular round, it is a little interesting to me because we're seeing just this trickle of cars coming in. Whereas when they came in previously, there was just big bunches of cars. We also had a lot of cars pitting under those yellows as well. So that is that very well is probably going to be fuel mileage, like Howard was telling me in my ear a second ago. And that is exactly what I was talking about earlier. Cars that save more fuel than others. You're starting to see that play out right here in this stage. As we see here, both Matthew Crisp and Chris Wilhite have found each other. Those are very strong race cars, as we see a bunch of cars that are coming into the pits now. The pit sequence well underway as we see Plowman and his teammate. Those guys have worked very well together all race long, pitting together. Another fantastic shot coming right at you. The same, I believe that's going to be the 43 of Go Lightly right there in screen. Oh, that's Mark Murphy, excuse me. He's going to take minimum of 2. Yep, looks like it's it's going to be a 4-tire stop. As the 2 team cars behind him make their way back down the pits, as we are going back to the through the pit cycle as Jeff Schmeier, also a dog bear car. So now we have those dog bear guys starting to come to the front. After really not doing much in the first half of the race, the more of those that I see, the more I think that's by design. As we see the 81 car here again, even though the fuel may have been an issue, I'm still a little surprised those two team cars did not pit together. As we see the 81 slide through his pit stall, that's going to cost him even more time. He does not have a drafting partner. So far as I can tell, he is the only car in the pit lane. That's going to make things a little bit difficult for him. We're going to have to see how that plays out as we begin to work our way through the second round of green flag stops. We have our eyes on the leaders. It'll be interesting to see where they stop. Will the Dog Bear guys all pit together? Is the 25 car going to be with them? And it looks like the Dog Bear guys are coming right now. There's a bunch of cars. Oh, and we have a spin. The 87, that's the 87 of Sebastian Jackson. He is around after making contact on pit entry. I don't believe that's going to bring out a caution, but we're going to keep an eye on that as these guys come in. You saw them coming off of the racetrack, 4 and 5 cars wide. They've got to get down to single files, so this is very easy to have happen. Just trying to get your spot, get it woed up, get to the pit lanes while getting as much as you can. Contact does happen here very frequently, so we have a ton of cars on the pits right now. Pretty much the entire a leading pack is coming in together, which surprises me just a little bit. That also tells me that there's probably, this was the extent that they could run on the fuel, as we are currently serving lap 111. That is going to be, that's going to put these guys in a window where they could potentially make it on one more stop, depending on if and how the cautions fall. And look who is leading this race. Patrick Kopp having a rough day so far. Laps down from most of the race, got back on the lead lap, and now he is leading. Granted, we are in the middle of a pit stop cycle, but good for him. This is a perfect example of the never quit that all these drivers have. And great job by him to get himself back up into contention, currently leading the race. He does owe us a pit stop, but really, really nice job and really nice reward for him to get to lead some laps here at Daytona, as it looks like he's going to be peeling off after initially reading a bit of a lockup there, but I think he's going to be okay. But really good job by that car there and that driver, keeping himself in contention and getting to lead a lap. That's always a great feeling. Even if it's in a pit stop sequence, it's always special to lead laps at Daytona. That's going to cycle the lead back to Sean Caldo in a really close call there. He is going to have to take evasive action. Really well done there to avoid contact. I'm not sure what was happening there, but you saw it live right there on board with him. The car right in front of him just absolutely cut down on him. And he lost a lot of momentum there as we got 3 wide coming into the tri-oval. Now down to 2 wide. He is currently our race leader. He did not lose that position, it doesn't look like. So he is our last car who still does need to pit, so he may be coming in this time by. So all those cars ahead of him, those are cars that have pitted. They are on the tail end of the lead lap. But when the 602 does come in here, we are anticipating that shortly. I would imagine I would imagine he's going to be coming in here very shortly, and we are going to see those other cars cycle back around to the lead as we have 2 cars off of turn 4 into the inside wall. Oh no, it's Patrick Kopp again and the 601 as well. Those cars working side by side. We saw those cars working together earlier in the race. No caution as we continue to work through this traffic. We'll have to get a replay of that to see what happened there. But tough break for Patrick. He had done such a great job to get himself back up into contention. And he took some heavy contact to that inside wall. We'll have to see how much damage that car is carrying as we have the replay here from Robert Northway's perspective. And yeah, he looks like there's a car there in the middle, just kind of took him out there. We're not really sure what led to that. We'll keep an eye on that. If we can get a better look for it, we'll definitely bring that to you. it is worth noting that Kopp did get away. He was able to drive away. Um, as we shift over now to Matthew Crisp, he was one of the first cars to pit. Him and Will Height in that 7 car. Remember, Will Height spun on his pit sequence. They have found each other. They are working their way back towards the front. Well, they're actually at the front. Excuse me. He is probably going to he will inherit the race lead once the 602 pits here, and so we are looking to see where that cycle will play out. Actually, no, he is showing his 27th, so my apologies. Apparently, I forgot how to read for a second, so my apologies on that. But we are going to be very interested to see how that 7 car can make its way back to the front. Again, this was the car that ran second to our pole sitter for the first opening stanza of this race. He also led that high side multiple times. He has led laps here in this race, so very, very strong race car. See if he can overcome that mistake made in the pit lane. And then Matthew Crisp there, who we are currently riding with, one of the early takers, and it does look as though the timing and scoring is starting to cycle through. So he is currently being scored as the race leader, which means Will Height behind him currently scored in the 27th position, I believe is what I saw. Therefore, he's going to be a lap down. So he's going to want to stay right on the bumper of that 18 car. That will make him the first car 1 lap down should the caution come out. Therefore, he'd be able to get back on the lead lap and get back in contention for this thing. So lots of things going on right now. Again, as soon as we flip to the second half of this race, it's like somebody flipped the switch and we started having all kinds of drama, all kinds of fireworks. So we still have a long way to go here, though, guys. Currently serving lap 117. We are still 82 laps to go as they come to the line here in this race. And as we look at Davis Braun there, currently back in second, doing a really nice job there. The ebbs and flows of this race as we have a caution. I'm seeing a car spinning in the triover. That is Hacken Shot, and I can't make out who that Fusion car is to the outside, but we are under yellow once again. And this is a break for the 7 car of Chris Mohite. I expect that he's going to be getting the lucky dog to get him back on the lead lap. We see here, it looks like, I couldn't make out who that car is, but it looks like there's just a misjudgment of when they can jump into the line there, which led to the caution, or excuse me, led to the contact, excuse me. So we're going to see Hack and Shot come on the right-hand side there. There's the spinner. Ooh, close call there for Sean Caldo. So he was actually on the left there on the inside. So this is the nature of this racing as we watch with Daniel Thomas again. All it takes is, oh, what a close call for Thomas right there. Oh, I guarantee you that elevated his heart rate just a little bit. What a job by him to avoid contact there. This should tell us exactly what happened, as Hack and Shot was one of the cars involved. So we're working our way down the back straightaway here, going into 3 and 4 on that high side. I'm going to guess that there was an opening he was trying to fit into and maybe had just a tiny little bit of misjudgment here. Keep your eye on that 101 car right there, and yeah, he just tries to come down to an opening that closed up. So it does not take much for these cars to get spun around. I keep saying it, in that tri-oval, so easy to lose the car, and you got to make those decisions super fast because those holes, they plug up quick. So unfortunate there for the 101, but doesn't appear to have occurred any damage. He looks like it was just a simple spin, so he'll bring her down to the pit lane, throw 4 fresh Goodyears on it, and be back up and running. And we ride with Brian Scrivener here. This was the Fusion car with whom Hacken made contact, and S is so common here in this type of racing. Just nowhere to go for the 70. Tried to woe it down, tried to avoid him, but he had no place else to go. Pretty significant damage there on the front of that 70 car. We'll have to keep an eye on that to see if he's able to continue, or if he has to take out the spare car, as we have pit stops. And we have a lot of takers. A little surprising given that we just pitted about 7 laps previously, but pit road is busy. And as we cycle through that latest round of stops, we're going to have to let things cycle around to see who's still there, who's still out. I am going to need a second. There's a lot going on there to cycle through. I will get you an updated leader list here momentarily, but we're looking at James Jones here. Not sure what's going on. I don't believe he was caught up in any kind of incidents, so just a late pit stop is what it appears to be. He started dead last in this race. He is currently up to 25th. He did crack the top 10 earlier in this race too, so having a strong run, a lot of ebbs and flows again, and he's one of those as we get a good look at Sebastian Jackson. Currently in 21st, he unfortunately was one of the cars that did spin out coming to his green flag stop. So we will have to see what kind of a recovery drive he can put together. As you see the 70 car of Brian Scrivener right there in front of him. Very curious to see how that car is going to perform here on the restart given the damage that he's took. So we saw earlier that the nose of that car was all kinds of crumpled up. It is clean now, so not sure if he took the fast repair or if he just got the damage replaced. Given the fact we're still seeing a lot of bugs and so forth on there, I'm thinking he probably got the damage repaired, but we'll have to keep an eye on that again as the race plays out. A little bit of housekeeping here now. The 101 did receive an end-of-line penalty for incident responsibility for their latest caution, as is standard for the major series here. If you're the one that initiates the caution, you will get a penalty for it. Ask me how I know. I found it out the hard way towards the tail end of last season. So, but again, he's going to be dropping to the tail end of the longest line here. But again, it's Daytona. It doesn't really matter where you're at any given time. As long as you're in the race, you still have a shot to win this thing. So we'll see if he can come back through the front, and it'll be fun to watch that take place as well. You see the 7 there on the outside, bit of a break for him. He did get back on the lead lap as a result of this caution period, so big break for him. I'm very curious to see how he makes his way back to the front again. Very, very strong race car here in this race so far, so he's definitely one of the guys we're going to be tracking as we begin to work our way through the remainder of this race. We are currently coming down to, excuse me, looks like it's going to be about 89 laps to go. So we're starting to get into the business end of this thing. Still a long time left, but from here on in, the aggression is just going to begin to take off. You're going to see more pushing, more shoving. We're going to see a lot more moves, a lot more side-by-side. The window for the nice single file running is beginning to close as this race nears its conclusion. Speaking of conclusions, this caution period is concluding right now. Pace car's off. We're in the restart zone. Barney's got the flag in the air, and we are back to racing as these cars thunder through the trioval one more time. The 602 of Sean Caldo still leading. The 81 right behind him. And Mike Golightly, the one car on the outside, now ducks inside. There's an opening there. The 25 car there cut him a little bit of a break and let him in line there. But a nice shot for Golightly. Keep in mind, he was penalized a couple of cautions back with an in-the-line penalty, and now here he sits in the top 3. So nice recovery for that driver. And a lot of respect there from Braun to allow him to jump into line there. We are single file for the first several cars. It looks like we have about a 9-car breakaway before we get to that top line, which is a little surprising. I was expecting a little bit more aggression this go around, but that's okay. We're running clean, and we're good to go. As we look at Michael Hagstrom currently in the P12, he's the one leading that outside line. And again, we have seen all day that outside line can work, but as we see, he goes a little bit high there. He has a bit of a moment. Tire temperatures might not be fully up to temp yet, allowing that car to kind of skirt around a little bit. But when that happens, that dissipates all the energy that line is producing, and the end result is exactly what you're seeing. The inside line just goes screaming right by. So the outside line can work, but we got to get ourselves a little bit organized, as you can see this through the Whiplash Sim Cam's camera view as they are working their way through turn 4 and back down to the front straightaway one more time. Car jumping up in front of Michael there. That's going to help, but a car dropping back behind him, that's going to hurt. They are starting to get a little bit more organized there on that top side, but they got a lot of work to do before they get to the front. So we're again, we want to keep an eye on these runs as they begin to develop. Again, as this race is now in the second half, things are going to get a bit more aggressive. They're going to be a bit more strong, as we see the 7 car there on the inside making his comeback drive once again, all the way back up to 21st after restarting in the 26th position. So a nice recovery drive from him in the making. We're definitely going to be following him throughout. As see what he can do to make his way back to the front here. And now that top line, as we can see, is pretty much completely evaporated. So was not expecting single file, especially so soon right after the restart here. I was kind of expecting us to see a little bit more aggression. But again, these drivers, they all have a plan. They have plans with their teammates. They have strategies. They have multiple different scenarios that they've talked out leading up to this race. I mean, the racing is virtual, but I promise you every single one of these drivers takes this incredibly seriously, and there's a lot of preparation that goes into this, not just from a setup and practice perspective, but from race scenarios that are undoubtedly discussed in team meetings, in the Discord channels. Maybe less so in the actual race channel, but I promise you there's a lot of communication going on right now across these drivers as they continue to work their way around the World Center of Racing. Quick update on the weather here. We are starting to get into the later stages of the afternoon here at Daytona. It is just after 4 p.m. within the sim time, and you can see those shadows getting a little long. Now, as we work our way down towards turn 1, you're going to see that turns 1 and 2 completely in the shade. Turns 3 and 4 still in that bright sunshine. And that is going to affect the handling of these race cars. That is going to where we're going to see some slipping and sliding in turns 3 and 4, and another factor that's going to come into play, as you can see beautifully by our Whiplash Sim Cams, is that sun. As this race gets down to its conclusion, that sun is going to begin dipping below the front straightaway grandstands. Now, depending on where we are when this race actually finishes, those drivers are going to be staring directly into the glare of that sun, and there's going to be for a little while, There's a great shot of it right there as we ride with Wayne Hutchinson. As that sun dips lower and lower, there's going to be a segment of the race where they're staring directly into that sun and they will be completely blinded. So weather will still factor into this race. Obviously, we're not going to have any rain or anything like that, but shade in turns 1 and 2, sun in turns 3 and 4, handling is going to be an issue. Sun's going to be an issue, so we're going to have to keep an eye on that as well. Just wanted to touch on that since we haven't talked about the weather lately, but that will absolutely affect how these race cars handle and the way these drivers are going to work out the conclusion of this race. As we continue to ride with Hutchinson, there's that glare that I was talking about. Wayne having himself a really nice race. They've gotten themselves solidly into the top 10. He still has his teammates around him. He's worked really well with his teammates to get there, the Dog Bear Boys, primarily with Partridge and Belval, but Schmeier has been there with them as well. And that feeds right back into the team alliances that we've referenced a couple of times. We're starting to get down towards the money end of this race, and you're going to see more and more of those teammates starting to find themselves, seeing if they can work together. Another example, Ben Plowman in the 601 and his teammate there in the 643. These guys, we chronicled them earlier, working together very well. They were able to get that top side working really well. They're currently in 30th, having a bit of a rough go of it. But again, we still have a long ways to go here. Anything is going to be able to happen, and it probably will. So again, we want to keep an eye on those team alliances as we begin to go into the later stages of this race. One thing we also want to consider: fuel and pit stops. As a result of this last caution, we are potentially in a window where these guys can probably make it on one more stop, potentially, depending on if and how cautions fall and how much fuel save they are able to do. Keep in mind, full throttle the whole run, you can make it about 40 laps, give or take. We can stretch it out to about 45 laps with some fuel save. So that is something else these drivers are going to be thinking about as well, because as we get into these later stages, if we do turn into a fuel mileage race, that's going to undoubtedly play into the strategies, and we see some guys like some of these guys running mid-pack, like the Fusion guys, who are currently nose to tail in about the 12th to 14th position. They're just kind of rolling along, letting this thing play out. And yes, we still have a long way to go here as we start to play these strategies out, but that is something these drivers are going to have on their mind as we begin to backtrack towards the end of this race. Oh, and by the way, there's also 30 other cars that they're trying to race against doing 190 miles an hour. So these drivers are going to start to have their hands full as we get down to, as we continue to work our way through the stages. As we see here, Davis Braun on the inside, that outside lane, getting a very strong run. We can see here Davis riding with him. He last pitted on 119. So that should potentially see him through to around lap 160, which would in fact put him in the window of making it. Now, one other thing to factor in as we see that high line prevail and take the lead. One other thing to factor in here would be if we have a green-white checker. We are up to 3 attempts at a green-white checker should the caution fall late in this going. And we'll talk more about that if and when we get there, but that's just one more thing that these drivers are going to have to mitigate as they work through this, as there's a great graphic there, 44 to 40 lap stints. And we also have the incident limit. We haven't talked about that today, but the incident limit, every time these cars make contact with each other, it will incur an incident point. And if you receive 16 or more, you will have a drive-through penalty, and that is absolutely going to factor in as well. Now, the bump drafting we saw earlier, that's not what we're talking about. That you can do that all day long, as long as you don't hit them too hard. It doesn't incur anything. What we're talking about are incidents where a car spins, for example, or if you brush the wall. On road course races, track limits will affect that as well. That doesn't really apply here on the ovals, but you do still want to be mindful of those incident points as well. As we look to the front, switching gears to the actual on-track action, Will Height made his way all the way to third place. That did not take him very long. I said that car is a very strong race car, and he has worked his way up to the third position. So he is absolutely very much in this race. I would look for him to kind of sit here for a little while. We're probably going to try to stretch this out till we get to the final set of green flag stops, and then it's going to get pretty crazy from that point. But Will Height doing a great job on the comeback trail all the way back up there. I'll go ahead and say comeback is completed at this point because he's right there where he was early in the going. Great drive by that 7 car there. We see there James Jones enjoying some time at the front in a last to first drive, so very well done by him. That'd be a fun onboard to follow. As we're wrecking coming to the tri-oval, we are going to have a caution. That's the 87 of Sebastian Jackson and the 744 car as well. There was a third car involved, couldn't quite see that number, but that does put us under yellow. That looks like it's going to be a right front to left rear type of contact. We'll have to look into, see what was going on there. This will probably give us a good look at it. You want to look for the 87 car. Yeah, he just kind of shoots up there a little bit right in front of him. Nowhere for them to go at that point in time. And that could be a product of a number of different things. That could be simply just having a moment on the car. Again, that little short shoot from turn 4 into the tri-oval, very, very easy for the car to break loose. And if that is the case, you're just kind of along for the ride at that point. The visibility we talked about, it could be something along those lines as well. But just an unfortunate incident there involving the 87 as we see one car with some bodywork flapping there as we currently run under caution. That is the 189 of Jeroen Bonds. He'll probably want to get that fixed. That's going to have a negative effect on his aero. But yeah, it is unfortunate, but we're probably going to see more of that as this race begins to wind down and as these pushes become more and more aggressive. We have one more replay here as the 189, and yeah, he was the one that was there, and that was the contact between the two. And again, it's just one of those things where two cars going for one piece of real estate, and Newton's law will not allow you to do that. So unfortunate for him. We'll see if he can come back, see if he can be a factor here, as we do have pit stops that are underway. Multiple cars, pretty much the entire field's going to come down as is expected at this point in time, and this will, I've mentioned it a couple times about one more stop. This one will, in all likelihood, put us in a window where all of these drivers can now make it on one more stop. So some of the strategy is going to be coming into play here. Now, we want to talk about fuel consumption here. We are currently on lap 137. If you're running up front, you can have a 45-ish stint if you fuel save.
Yeah, that's what I got as well.
And I mentioned it earlier in the broadcast. It's not so much when you pit for that final stop, but how long are you on the pit lane? If you can save some fuel this time, it's going to, one, enable you to spend less time on the pit road, or two, keep a little bit of reserve in case we do get that green-white checker as well. So a lot of decisions to be made here on how we approach this upcoming restart and ensuing green flag run. We see Michael Hogg here on the pit lane. It looks as though he is getting some damage repaired. He was one of those involved in this most recent round of caution. And so Sebastian Jackson there as well. Again, these guys do have a spare car, but that big wreck is still lingering out there. We're probably going to see more cautions as this race plays out. So you want to avoid using that spare car if at all possible. Again, you have plenty of time under caution to get these cars fixed up here at Daytona. So you definitely want to utilize that time if at all possible. Keep that spare car in reserve, because you always got to be prepared for that big wreck, because it's always hanging out there over these drivers' heads. We've had one already. The possibility always exists for another one. right, we are lined up and ready for the restart once again. This time it's going to be their teammates that are side by side, with Jeff Schmeier on the inside, and I believe that was Ray Partridge in the A car on the outside. News from race control: the cause of that yellow flag is another another netcode incident. So no further action, no penalties assessed in this particular moment, which makes it even more tough for those cars involved. Unfortunately, netcode giveth, netcode taketh away, and that time it definitely took away for those 3 drivers involved. We're going to keep an eye on them, see if they can make it back through, be a factor of this. We are currently double file. The lines are out. We are all set to go racing. Now, this restart going to be very interesting because we have 2 dog bear cars on the top side, a dog bear car leading on the inside, and a fusion car kind of sandwiched between them. So do those dog bear guys find a way to get together, work with each other, or are we in a every man for himself scenario? We're about to find out because the green flag is waving once again, and we are back to racing. And we immediately go to caution. Looks like we have a crash there in the back. We didn't even get up to speed here. We'll have to wait and see what happened. I was just about to say the the outside line actually kind of went held serve with the inside line there, as those dog bear guys tried to hang out with the leader here. And as we see another dog bear car, Scott Kukas, he was involved in this caution. A really weird scenario where it pitched up. Normally that's indicative of some kind of a suspension failure. He kind of got high centered here. We'll get a good look at it here. This is coming to the restart, and it's just an accordion effect. We see this happen so many times, really across any kind of oval racing. Guys thinking that the leader's going to go, leader doesn't quite go, and then check up, and then eventually there's just this accordion effect, and this is a very common occurrence, unfortunately. So we're going to, this does happen at times, and we'll get a really good shot of it here on board with the 242, and you can see it happens so fast, and the 242 there, just nowhere to go. Unfortunate both for him. It's also unfortunate for the 601 there. Took a lot of damage on that one, and that's going to put us back under caution after about 800 feet or so of racing. So we see the 189 once again. He's on pit road. Again, getting more damage repaired. He was involved in the previous caution, the netcode one that race control determined was netcode, and he's on there taking more repairs as we work our way through this our 7th yellow period by my count. Jeff Schmier, there we go, starting 10th. Currently trying to catch up to the pace car, and he is going to get the field under his control. Partridge coming up behind him, and as these guys begin to circulate under the pacing, one of the unknown dangers of these kinds of cars is when the caution comes out, these guys in this particular instance, they had an entire lap to try to catch the pace car. They're still running at speed, and now all of a sudden we have these big checkups. So that's something that's always nerve-wracking from a driver from really about the mid-pack on, making sure that they don't hit the guys in front of them as they get to that safety car queue. So just it's always something. Even when you're under caution, you're never fully safe here at Daytona. As we see pit stops, Bill Daly, we've ridden with him a few times throughout this race. He's in the pits along with some friends. These guys, these are probably guys who did not stop in the last sequence getting their service. Again, that is going to very comfortably put them in the into the one-stop window. That's going to pretty much wrap up everybody being in that one-stop window. It's just a matter of when do those final pit stops come. It's also going to play into, should we get more caution? Do we come down for more fuel then? We're also starting to creep into territory where the tire allocation is going to be coming into play. Keep in mind, we only had 8 sets of tires to start the day with. So still lots of things for these drivers to be thinking about, even under caution. And as we continue to work around the speedway, we will have an update for you on the running orders. Probably not going to be changed. Schmier, Partridge, Thomas, Jones, Belval, largely unchanged as we didn't get much running there on that. This is the most recent of caution flags before it flew. That is your top 5, though. And then from 6, we have Robert Northway. We have the 81. We have Hartley, Crisp, and Will Height wrapping up your top 10. So with that in mind, we're going to step aside for just a quick second while these guys are under caution. You are watching the Intimidator round on the Major Series.
Everyone, just a reminder, we reviewed that incident. Lots of checking up. Everybody make sure, please, we close up those gaps on the restart prior to the start. And hold your release.
We are working our way through turns 1 and 2 now on the back straightaway for the leaders as we prepare for another restart. We are going to be coming around with about 77 laps to go when we get to the line. Just a real quick note from race control advising these drivers to be mindful of the gaps and of the accordion effect there, as well as changing lanes before the restart zone. So we didn't catch that if that took place, but usually when race control gives an admonishment, there's a reason for it. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Per the majors rules, you're not allowed to move lanes until you cross the start-finish line on a restart. So something we'll have to take a close eye on as we begin to work our way back towards the start-finish line and the restart. As we see, lights are out on the pace car. He's going to duck off once again. Another quick word from race control, no further action. It was no single car being responsible. No penalties coming as the field addresses itself to the start-finish line in the restart zone. And we are racing once again. This time, Schmier gets a massive jump ahead of the field. You got to be careful here, as you don't want to get too far ahead. That's a real good way to get freight train on the outside line. Meanwhile, it looked as though the 56 of Claude Melvoff dropped to the inside line as soon as he possibly could, leaving Bray Partridge on the high side, but he's been able to find a gap as well on that low side. And for now, it is just Schmier as they work their way down the back straightaway, leading this race from the 19 of Daniel Thomas in that Fusion car. Working our way into turns 3 and 4 once again. Bit of cloud cover coming through, shading for these drivers. Inside line prevailing at the moment. Outside line looking pretty organized. We'll see if they can make a run as these cars do take about a full lap to fully get up to speed with this restricted engine package that they run here on the Super Speedway. And that outside line is in fact 63 pushing the 45. I expect they're going to get a big run here off of turn 2, the gap between Schmier and the 19 car. And that's exactly what is happening here as that 45 car is creeping ahead. He is being pushed into turn 3 by that 603 car, fully in the lead here, and we are 2 by 2 clear. And look, there he is again, that 7 car, Chris Wilhite, right there back in the mix. As the 45 is going to duck down to the inside, the top 2 on the outside do not go with them. The 603 is going to lead this first lap. 60 car ducking to the inside as well to give some close call there with the 1 car coming out there on that high side. But you can see right there just how quickly a run can dissipate, be it high side, be it low side. And we are under caution again. I was just going to talk about how the runs can materialize and evaporate very quickly, but we are currently under caution. The 11 and our pole sitter, the 5 car there of Austin O'Neill, he's involved with this one. I'm also seeing the 70 of Brian Scrivener. I think I saw the 744 there of Michael Hogg. He's going to be involved in this crash as well. And that looks like a push gone wrong. We'd have to see a little bit more of it. Here we go, the 11, trying to avoid the crash here. And think you're clear, comes to a complete stop to avoid it. Well done by that driver. Sometimes that is your only pathway forward. Well done by that driver there to avoid it. But that initial replay there, it did look as though that may have been a push gone wrong, like I said a second ago. You can push into the corners, but you can't push too hard in the corners. Oh, big hit there for Michael Hogg. The speed differential here, so fast. You have split seconds to react, and it does happen that fast. So tough break for the 744 there. Excuse me. That's the second major incident he's been involved in on the day, having a bit of a rough go of it. And you can see here Davis Braun caught a piece of it too. We'll have to check the nose of that machine. Oh, what a wild ride for him. Oh, what a job to avoid it. Ducking down there on the banking. Whew. So you want to be a major series driver in the Daytona 500, huh? All right. There you go. No, from what I was able to gather there, though, it doesn't look like we have a super clear-cut view of it, but that does look as though somebody got into the back of the 70 car there. Perhaps would be the initiating car. He got a little squirrely, and drivers had to tried to avoid him, and were not quite able to do so. Again, it just happens that fast, and there you can see it right there. Khalid doing a fantastic job here getting us these replays. A lot to sort through, so it takes us a little bit to find it sometimes. So he's doing a fantastic job with those replays there. So big thanks to him. And you can see there, guys, just side by side. We have the side draft. We haven't talked about the side draft today. But it looks as though there was a side draft that was trying to take place there, and it just went wrong. So unfortunate there, and you always hate it when teammates get into each other as well. So so this race took a big turn with that incident, as that was our pole sitter in the 5 car there, Austin O'Neill, and Scrivener has been strong for most of the day today. We can see they're affecting repairs. I don't believe he's taken the fast repair yet. So he's probably trying just to repair the damage to get back out there. Taking a breath here. We are still working lap number 147. And Vince Harley is your leader. So lost amidst all that shuffle was Harley being able to take the lead. And we had a lot going on there at the front as well. Runs evaporating, runs being created. You can definitely see an uptick in the aggression, and the line of demarcation I will always use for these races, be it virtual or real world, is the 50 lap to go mark. That is when you're at a point where the give has been given and the take is all going to be taken. There's all take, no give. These guys are going to be hyper aggressive throughout the rest of this race, would be my estimation. We probably have not seen our last yellow. So this is where things are going to get very, very interesting as we ride with Chris Wilhite, who, once again, what a job he's done today. Led a lot of laps earlier on, or not led a lot of laps, excuse me. He was in that top line a lot earlier on. Fell back, came through with a lap down at one point. Really, really strong comeback drive for him so far. And behind him, we have Jones, Golightly, and Tom Dreiling in the top 10. Dreiling involved in one of our earlier cautions. A really nice comeback drive for him. Currently there in the 5th spot. And then we have Thomas Hackenschott, who was turned around at one point in the Triovo and took an end-of-line penalty earlier in the race. Back in the top 10, another nice recovery drive. That is the theme of the day, recovery drives. We've had a lot of them. Then we have the 643 of Mark Murphy. He's currently in the top 10, the 605 of Love, and Wayne Hutchinson. He has not gone away yet. He's still hanging out there in that top 10 as well. That rounds up everybody inside that top 10. As we prepare for the restart, the cars are side by side, indicating that they are going to get the green flag this time by Mark Murphy. See a great look at that car right there. Him and his teammate in the 601 worked together really well earlier on in the race. The 601 unfortunately had an incident. Currently not in the running, and there is our pole sitter, Austin O'Neill. He's going to be restarting 26th, 27th. So going to be very interesting to see if he is able to get back to the front. He's going to have his work cut out for him, and he's going to have to get aggressive to get there. We're hearing word from race control right now. No further action on this most recent cautions. No penalties given. It was deemed that no driver could be held responsible for this incident. So they're chalking it up to a racing incident as we bring them down here for one more restart. Lights are off on the safety car. Great shot of the drone cam there. All of these NASCAR racing vehicles still looking fantastic. The massive crowd. It's a great scene here at Daytona. We're in the restart zone, and we are under green, and it's going to be a really good jump once again from our race leader. This time it's going to be Hartley as he jumps out ahead. Now again, I said it on the last restart, you do not want to get too far ahead because these guys will just go right by you. He managed that absolutely perfectly as our top 10 very quickly hits single file as we are working our way off of turn 4 into the back straightaway. We have a few cars on the outside line, see if they can get themselves organized and maybe make a charge here. But even now, as we come around to complete lap 149, that magical 50 laps to go that I was talking about is about to begin. These drivers, especially at the front, they're probably going to want to just run single file like we're seeing. Let this race play out. Let them run the laps out and then fight for themselves in the closing stages. The guys in the mid-pack and near the back, they're needing to get to the front if they want to have a shot at winning this thing. So we really have multiple races within the race, and that to me is what makes this style of racing so fascinating and so much fun to watch, because this is where all the hard work in the races leading up to today's event are starting to pay off, where that experience comes in from the qualifying races and the reliance on your teammates. All of those things that are factoring into what we're seeing right now. These drivers are going to have their hands full. They've had their hands full all day, but the workload's about to increase quite a bit. For now, though, up front, Vince Hartley looking fairly comfortable as we jump to Joshua Hampton, and this is the cauldron that I was talking about. This right here, where we're at as we look at with the Whiplash sim cams there. This is what we want to keep our eye on here as this race begins to progress. Take nothing away from what's happening at the front. This is where those runs are going to be generated. These guys are going to want to get themselves sorted because there's a gap beginning to build from where these guys are now to those leaders. So they want to get themselves sorted, make sure that they're in that big pack right there. As we see the 602 there, the 33, all these guys right here working together. Austin O'Neill, our pole sitter there. Excuse me, second in line from the outside lane. They're going to want to get themselves in a spot where they can try to run down that lead pack. Now, again, the gap right there is starting to show a little bit, so we're going to have to keep an eye on that. And I guarantee you those guys right now, O'Neill especially, is probably screaming into that headset, hey, let's get single file so we can try to run these down. We're on board right now with Ray Partridge. He is the car leading that inside line of this second pack, and you can kind of see that it's an ebb and flow thing. Like in the corner, it looks as though they're kind of catching up on him. But then in the straightaway, they kind of sneak away from him a little bit. So there very much is an ebb and flow. The best thing you can do is find a spot on the track at the line and then kind of look and see where you're at lap upon lap to see what the true relative is from your car to that group up front. But again, just to let you just to kind of elaborate even further that there's always something going on here. They may want to stay right where they are, because as we begin to get racy up here in the front, that wreck is going to happen again in all likelihood. So Partridge, leading the second pack, is in a really good spot right now that should that wreck happen, he's in a spot where he can A, avoid the wreck in front of him, but B, modulate his speed enough so that he doesn't get run over by the guys behind him as well, because keep in mind, if you're drafting off a car, you can't see what's in front of that car. So very limited visibility for these guys, a lot of information being fed, a lot of things that you have to process quickly. Even in scenarios like this where it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot that's happening on the racetrack, these guys are still busy. And that's a really good shot right there as we jump inside the cockpit with Claude Belvon. That's exactly what I was talking about. As he gets right up behind his teammate, perfect shot right there. He is not able to see anything except for that rear bumper of Partridge in front of him. Now, when the banking hits, you can see a little bit of what's going on ahead of him, but right in front of him, he can't see a thing. So he's very much reliant on his teammate in front of him there. It's got to be his eyes for him to let him know, hey, this is what I'm seeing. This is what's going on. And you can also see here how much lower we are in the cockpit compared to the roof cameras that we've been seeing. Very limited visibility for these guys. There are tools available to these drivers, spotters, relative teammates that might be jumping and crew chiefing for you. As we see, this second pack now has gotten single file, but the workload here is just tremendous in these waning laps as we come around to complete lap 154, currently working 155. We're at the 45 laps to go mark here. As we take a look at our leader, Vince Harley, he continues to hold serve there at the front, gets a little love tap there from the 45 behind him. As we work our way down towards turns 3 and 4, once again, the transition into the banking again, that 31 degrees, allowing these cars to hold it wide open if you're in the lead pack all throughout this speedway. Still a lot of work being done by these guys, those to modulate the throttle, to regulate the runs. Whether you're leading or whether you're pushing, like that is something that no matter what position you're in, you do have to be mindful of. If you're the leader, you can't let yourself get out too far in front of the pack. If you're the guy following, you got to make sure that you're hitting those runs, and if you do hit that guy in front of you, it's got to be square on the bumper and just a gentle tap. So much technique to this type of driving. It's really interesting to watch how these guys are working the throttles, working the gaps, and just maintaining their lines. And this is just it for single file. It's not going to be like this for too terribly much longer. I guarantee you, before this race is over, these guys are going to be jumping out and scrambling all over each other trying to get that lead spot, coming to the checkered flag here in just about 43 laps from now. And checking in on that Partridge line. Again, as soon as they got themselves all single file, they are quickly running this pack back down. You can see right there, working his way out of the turn 2 banking down the back straightaway. Looks to be about a 3-second gap from Partridge to the final car in that first line there. Now that these guys are single file, they're probably going to be able to run these guys down within probably 5 to 10 laps is what I would say here. So we'll just have to keep an eye on that. So long as they continue to stay single file, they're going to be faster than the guys ahead of them, because single file, but they're also catching the draft of those guys ahead of them as well. Just a sniff of it. It's not much, but all you need is a sniff, and that sniff gets a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger, and before you know it, they're just being drawn into the pack in front of them. So we're still going to keep an eye on that as we begin to wind our way down, continuing to work these laps. We do have a nice green flag look once again. A lot of cars single file. We have 2 main packs here. There are a couple of cars that are running on their own without drafting help, so we're going to have to be careful of that as we get closer to them. As we take a peek here at Bill Daly, currently in the 15th spot. We've checked in on him a couple of times throughout the day. Still running solidly. They're in that top 15. I believe he is the last car in line of this lead pack here. So we will definitely keep an eye on that. It's definitely a lot of work if you are that last car on the lead pack to avoid losing that draft. Again, I've said it a couple times. It only takes 3 or 4 car lengths and you've lost the draft. As we jump aboard with Matthew Chris, I was mistaken earlier. He's the one that is the last car on that lead pack there. And right about here, as we ride with him, that right there, that gap that you're seeing, that's about as big a gap as you want. If I'm in the cockpit right now of this 18 car, I'm getting concerned that I'm about to lose the draft, so I'm trying to do everything I can to get right up on the bumper of that car in front of me. And you're also going to try to modulate the gaps in front of him as well. There's a relative screen that are available to these drivers in iRacing on the black boxes that we have inside the cockpit. So we want to keep an eye on that as well if I'm Matthew Crisp in this particular scenario, because if I have to check up all of a sudden and then the line surges ahead of me right as I'm checking up, I've lost the draft. It can happen that fast. So Crisp here doing a great job hanging on to that first draft there, but a lot of concern if you're the 18 driver. You would be a lot better if you had another car or two behind you. You see the graphic there coming up. Lap 146 is the most recent pit stop. That is about 14 laps ago. Now we have had some caution underneath that, or in addition to that, excuse me. But that does put these guys solidly within one more stop to finish this thing out. Now, when does that stop come? This is going to be crucial here as we begin to work our way down towards the end of this race. You want to make sure you have that drafting partner. You want to make sure that you have somebody to help you. And then this more than likely being the money stop upcoming. This is going to be a scenario where you can't afford to speed. You cannot afford to spin out. You can't lock them up. You got to hit your marks exactly. Then we want to talk about tires. The tires for this upcoming pit stop is going to be largely dependent on the amount of fuel that you need. The last thing you want is to be sitting there in the pit still taking tires when the fuel's already been served. So we may be looking at a lot of 2-tire stops, a lot of no-tire stops, depending on where we are in the cycle of the fuel run. So things to be thinking about here. I'm not anticipating stops for at least probably another 25-ish laps, give or take. But I do expect that these drivers are going to be ducking in probably for just a splash. If I'm sitting in the cockpit of one of these race cars, I'm making sure that I have enough to cover at the very least one green-white checker just in case that happens. I'm also coordinating with any teammates that I may have as we begin to prepare those pit stops. And as we are riding with Michael Hogg here, about to be put a lap down by this lead pack, you see there, Lucky Dog candidate. We touched on this briefly, but if you are not familiar with NASCAR racing, the first car one lap down, in this case that would be Michael Hogg, they get a lap back at the moment of caution so long as they are not involved in the incident which caused that caution. So Michael Hogg, involved in a couple of incidents here earlier, unfortunately is currently trapped one lap down, but should that yellow come back, he would be allowed to get his lap back and get back up into, hopefully into contention there. Currently riding along, and right on cue, we have a caution in the back of the pack. We have, it looks like it's a 3-car incident here. So that Lucky Dog we were just talking about, Michael Hogg's going to get it as we see Scrivener involved in another incident. Unfortunate break for him here on the tail end of this race. He was having such a great run. I'm also seeing on one of my other monitors, it looks like Robert Northway was involved. He just banged hard off of the inside wall in the pits and coming to a complete stop in the pit lane. He's probably going to have to take a fast repair here, as we see on the replay. That looks as though Scrivener either just lost it, the car broke loose on him, or he may have had some help from his teammate with a push gone bad. It's kind of tough to tell here, but in the wall, down the track he goes, and he collects a few other cars with him. So it actually looks like it's going to be a bit of an accordion effect. He comes up on a car that did not have help, the 11 car there, and we see all 3 cars, the 11, the 70, and the 5, kind of bump together, and then into the corner, the 5 backs off, gives a little space, and it looks like Scrivener just broke loose, had a bit of a moment there. Unfortunate for him, unfortunate for the other 3 drivers involved. As we are under yellow, here's a good view from Austin O'Neill. And watch the checkup here. He comes up to the 11 car, he checks up, and then, yeah, he just has a moment there. The car does something he probably wasn't anticipating, a slight overcorrection. It really doesn't take much with these cars at these speeds, and it is unfortunate for him. It does look like Scrivener's going to get away. He did not beat the pace car out of the pit, so he's going to be a lap down, which is unfortunate for him. Given the clean look of that car, I do think he probably did take his fast repair this go around. Northway also involved. He took heavy damage, so he is in the pits taking repairs as well if he was going to use that fast repair. he would be back out on track by now. So that tells me that he either has used it previously or he's trying to save it for later on in the race. We have green flag or lead lap pit stops. As you can see, the guys coming in. Curious decision to take tires, take fuel now. I would have expected a few of the cars to stay out. We'll have to check on that here momentarily. This does put all the drivers within the being able to make it on fuel. We are currently working lap 163. So we are at 37 laps to go. Therefore, not only are we good for the finish, but all these drivers should be good for at least one green-white checkered should we need it. As we get a good look at the 82 car of Tom Dreiling there, currently being shown as the race leader. Yet another comeback drive by one of the drivers here in this field. Keep in mind, he was involved in an incident earlier. He had a penalty, and he has overcome it, and he's now leading the race. So good for him. Well done to Mr. Dreiling as we continue to circulate under caution. As we make our way through turns 3 and 4, getting set for this restart, word from race control, the 78th Ryan Scrivener has been given an end-of-line penalty. So for incident responsibility, it's a little bit of a tough break for for him, but he's going to be coming from the back anyway, having had to pit and take the damage repairs. And we get a good look at that Fusion car again. One of the cars sporting a Greg Biffle Memorial livery as we cycle back up to the front because the pace car is now off. We are about to go green once again. And Tom Dreiling, for the first time, will be leading green flag laps at Daytona, and he has a bit of a slow start. That outside line is able to hang with him. There's also a bit of a gap to the second place car on that bottom line. So I'm going to anticipate that high side probably going to have a little bit of momentum here as we work our way through turns 1 and 2. And they are neck and neck. Both lines showing a lot of momentum there, as we are going to be side by side for the lead down the back straightaway. Really the first time all day we've seen that, and we're now actually seeing Harley come through, but Dreiling with a run on the inside. Not able to clear him, and now he does. Harley back to the race lead, coming up into turns 3 and 4, and we're going to be coming around to complete lap number 168. Car ducking off of the racetrack, probably got pushed out of there. He's going to have to be very careful as we work through the tri-oval banking there. He does safely rejoin, so we're squared there. But while that happened up front, top line kind of dissipated a little bit. Dreiling right behind Harley. Jones behind Dryling, go right in fourth. Hackenshot up to fifth. That is your top five currently. As there's a good look at a used up race car. Look at the dirt and the bugs. That car has been through it, and he's not done yet as he's pushing the leader. That is the car of Dryling that you're looking at from the rear camera. We are under yellow again. Oh my goodness, what happened here? What happened here? We have a fairly large incident here, multiple cars involved. Not quite sure what happened here. We're going to have to stand by for a replay here in a moment, but we are back under the yellow flag once again. Hard hit for the 19 there.
I haven't looked yet. What was it for?
Well, we have a car blinking on the high side. There's a connectivity issue, perhaps, and yeah, that's gonna trigger an incident every time. When these cars
Who was that
lose
that-
connectivity to
that-
the
sorry, you got
servers,
that
they will begin to blink out. So this may have been a scenario where that happened, and when that car goes away, you're kind of at the mercy of when it reappears. I know from personal experience that I have had cars in front of me all of a sudden respawn, and I am literally inside the cockpit of that car, and it's all to play for at that point in time. We get a good shot of the review, or of the incident here, excuse me. The 33 car
got it,
just
Bill.
made contact here,
Give us a
and
minute to
then
review.
it's just a multi-car incident that was triggered after that. As we jump on board with the 33, that is David H. Baker. The 7 car gives him a nudge, loosens him up, and round they go. And we're going to have one more shot. This is with Chris Wilhite in that 7 car, just trying to go for a gap that may not have been there, trying to push his way through a little bit. Again, that's a product of what I was talking about earlier. We're inside these 50 laps to go. We're going to see a lot more aggression, and that is part of it. So Wilhite has run a really, really good race today. That's probably a move he'd like to have back. And it doesn't take much side-to-side contact there to initiate this multi-car crash. And yeah, I think the pictures tell the story there. So these guys, they're going to duck back down into the pits. They're going to make their repairs, and they're going to get back out on track because we still have 30 laps to go in this thing. That is still plenty of time. If they can stay on the lead lap, that is still plenty of time to get back and get into contention. So this thing is not over for any of these drivers. That is part of the magic of Daytona. If you're in it, you can still win it, so long as you're on the lead lap, that is. So, quick check of race control. No updates yet from them about any
Guys,
kind of
we're
penalties or
currently
anything along
investigating
those
the
lines. It
600 for
does appear
incident.
to be that the 46 of Robert Northway, I believe, is going to be the lucky dog candidate for this particular incident. I can see him circulating around on track. So he'll be going back around to tag onto the lead lap. We'll see if he can make some progress forward from here. Definitely not the day he's wanted so far. But again, he may have just been holding back this whole time, and then he's going to storm to the front. We're just going to have to wait and see what happens.
Guys, we reviewed that incident. It was a huge chunk of netcode that caused the 600 to kind of lose control.
All right, we are working down the back straightaway. We're about to go green again. Race Control has just chimed in saying it was a huge netcode. That's exactly what I was alluding to when I mentioned the car blinking out in front of those drivers that were involved in the most recent incident. Race Control is deeming that as no further action. Looking at the chat, I owe one of our drivers an apology. I have been mispronouncing Jeff Schmeier's name incorrectly this entire race. His name is Schmeier, not Schmier. So thank you to the chat for correcting me there. Much appreciated. We'll have to have a little chat with him about that after the race, see if he wants a nickname or if he's okay with me calling him that. But thank you for that. Also, thanks to everybody who's in the chat. We haven't really had a chance to look at it up until now, but thanks for coming along. Hope you're enjoying it. And thanks again for correcting me, Schmeier. I will make sure I say that correctly from now on. As we come out of turn 4, we're about to go green once again. We are going to be coming to the line completing lap 171. So we are inside 30 laps to go as Harley driving side by side with each other. Harley with a good launch on the initial launch, but Dreiling with a good run. Oh, and we see Harley going to the high side. We have not seen that on a restart yet, throwing the block. That was interesting. So we're going to have to see where that cycles out and if this high line can get that momentum back. Interesting move there by Harley. He wants to lead this race. There's only 30 laps to go, and he wants to stay up front. That is the kind of driving that we are going to be seeing more and more of as this race winds down. And you can see the effect that it had on that outside line. We are all the way back to about the fourth place in line here. So very interesting move. Dreiling having to check up there to avoid contact. And I look to see more of that kind of thing taking place here as this race continues to unfold. So interesting move there. Topside is starting to get a little bit more organized though, as you can see. Dreiling's on board. Look outside that driver's side window, the inside line going through just a little bit, but not really blowing by him. As we come off of turn 1 here, they do still have the momentum as the 81 goes by. But again, it does take some time for these laps, or excuse me, for these runs to generate. As we see that Hutchinson has now jumped up in front of Dreiling. Hutchinson, we know, able to carry that top line. He demonstrated that very well earlier in this race. And you can see how Dreiling is able to get right up to him, just a quick little nudge. And that right there, that little movement as they come into the trial, was so easy to wreck out there. These cars are so light going through there. That's a really good visual demonstration of what that would look like there. As these cars, again, continue to work their way through the high banks one more time. 27 to go. There is a car ahead of them staying to the high side as the field goes by. This is going to get interesting. You can go 3 wide here at Daytona. That is it tracks wide enough to do that. It's not something that's very comfortable to do, but it can definitely happen. And we see it here, and we see a spin. Looked like the 242 of Scott Kukas is around. I'm not sure what quite happened there. We'll see if he's able to get it gathered back up. We are still green. He is safely on the grass, and it looks like he's going to be able to gather it up and get it going. Quick look here at the replay, see what we have here. And it was just the line in front of him checked up in a major, major way. He tried to react to it. And when you make sudden steering inputs to these cars at that speed, it's going to spin you out. Unfortunate for the 242 there. Unfortunate timing for the 242 as well. Tough break there as he is currently by himself, not in the pack. So he's going to need a caution to get caught back up with these guys. Back to the front we go. Mike Golightly, another driver on the comeback trail. A end-of-line penalty earlier in the race. Currently solidly in 4th place. You can see that 17 car still working that outside. They are slowly starting to make ground on that high side, so we'll see what happens if and when they get there. But Golightly having a really nice race, involved in a couple of incidents, but just another one of those drivers who has gone from the back to the front, back to the front, and so on and so forth. So perfectly demonstrating that it doesn't really matter where you start, where you end up in this field. There is a pathway to get to the front if you're able to get there. So had a really nice race for him so far. And how about this view from inside the Go Lightly machine? You can see that Starling Dog Bear logo right outside. And now going by as this high side does seem to be slowly building a bit of momentum. And we'll see if they begin to come back here at these leaders. As you can see, Hutchinson, as we switch now to the windshield view, Hutchinson just ahead a little bit. Oh, and the leader goes by to block him again. This is the second time we've seen that. And now Dreiling is 3. Oh no, we're wrecking. Oh, does this bring out a caution? We are still green. This is exactly what we were talking about. Inside of 50 laps to go, the aggression is going to really ramp up here. And we can see here, it looked like Dreiling initially got kicked out of the line, and then contact was made when they were trying to duck back in. We have a replay here. Keep an eye. We're riding with Joshua Hampton here. Let's see what happened with that particular driver here. And we see a lot of we see a couple cars go sidewise. This is going to be carry over from that accordion effect as the initial incident was taking place. This will give us a good look right here. Rob, as we jump on Rob Love, College trying to get us a good replay here. So a lot to sort through here. And here we go. So we have, Vince Harley is this is live, my apologies. So we are live here. Vince Harley does continue to lead. So we'll get you a replay of that incident when we can and kind of break it down a little bit, but it happened really fast. So Harley continues to lead. We've seen his willingness on 2 separate occasions to block that run that the top line is making. We've also seen him able to maintain the lead, which is very curious because that tells me that car very, very strong. Driver also has a decent amount of experience because, again, when he jumped up there, not a malicious move, not a late move. That tells me that driver has done this kind of thing before. So we are very so it's going to be very interesting, as I think we have a replay of what exactly happened here. Keep an eye on the 82 car, second in line, just in shot there. You can see there he's in the middle as the 17 got kicked out, and then he just brushes the wall, and that led to just a chain reaction there. It looks like we only had one driver completely spin out and leave the racetrack. As we see another shot of it, it looks like you can see here just 3 wide, and yeah, there you go. And we're going to see more of that as this race continues to play out. Again, inside that 50 laps to go, the drivers are going to be getting super aggressive, and that aggressiveness is only going to increase as these laps continue to unfold. So we'll see where these guys cycle out. Hutchinson, I do believe, is still on track. I believe the 601 was also able to gather it up and get going. We did stay green. No caution fell for that particular incident. So we are currently green, and now we're under yellow. That is going to be the 605 of Rob Love. He got turned in the tri-oval. We'll have to see what caused that there, but this is going to be a break for the 601 and the 17. It'll allow them to get back caught up to this pack. Let's take a look and see what happened. He just got shuffled to the inside there and just contact, trying to avoid getting freight trained, trying to sneak back up into a hole that just was not there. Single car incident, fortunately, it's a simple spin. So I think we're in a no harm, no foul situation. Real good view there off of the bumper. It looked like Dreiling was the one with whom he made contact. So we're gonna, so that's gonna put us back under yellow once again. Here we can look at it one more time, and this is going to be a really telling view right here. Dreiling there on the outside. We see a move made. We see that there's no help. We can see him starting to fall back. The momentum checks up, and then unfortunate contact where they just weren't quite square. And again, neither driver really made a mistake there, in my opinion. That's just one of those unfortunate byproducts of this style of racing. So we are going to see more of that as we go, and we have an issue with Ray Partridge. Not sure what's going on here. If this is a replay or this is live, we've been under caution for a little while there. Khaled's telling me that this is a replay, so this was the Partridge spin. I'm assuming is going to be carried over um, of the of the previous incident there. So Partridge trying to gather it up. He's another one of those drivers that was running near the front earlier on. So the timing of that particular issue is going to be a bit costly for him. He's going to be another driver on the comeback trail. Curious to see if we are going to see any takers for pit road. We do see one car there on the apron. A couple behind him, I believe.
Guys, we
that
got two coming
might
from
be
this one. One's
Dryling
previous.
behind
It's going to
him.
be the car
He may have a little bit of damage. He wants to get fixed
for
up.
lap
Some of these guys may be
167,
coming in to top off fuel. So
And then this
a couple
one
takers, but I
will
think
be
we are
on car
mostly
82
done.
for incident responsibility, bringing out
I
the
think
yellow.
we are mostly done pitting for this race, absent there be any damage. So these guys should be all good on fuel. We see some guys here. These are cars that were at or near the back of the pack. Hutchinson especially probably coming down to fix some damage that he no doubt incurred with that brush to the wall. Get some more tires as well. But these front runners, I do expect them to stay out really until for the duration of this race. We are within the fuel window, up to and including a potential green white checker, probably one. We'll have to check and see about maybe two of them, but for the most part, for the front runners as they currently stand, I think we're pretty much done with the pit stops. As Hutchinson is getting some damage repair done to his car, as we see Partridge there, no damage to him. He just took 4 tires and he's down and away. So we're waiting to hear from race control about any potential penalties, and we will let you know about those as soon as they become available. So we are under caution once again. This time, with about 17 laps to go, we're about 2 laps away from the green flag. We're probably going to restart with around 15 seconds. Or 15 seconds, excuse me, 15 laps remaining. And so we will, it's going to get crazy going forward. Drivers are going to have their hands full. I'm going to have my hands full. Khaled's going to have his hands full with these incredible images that he's been bringing to you. Done a fantastic job all day long. So we are excited to do it. We're excited for this finish. I am hearing race control is giving a end-of-line penalty to the 82 car of Tom Dryling for incident responsibility. So that is unfortunate for Tom. He was driving a really good race. He's done it before, though. He had a penalty earlier in the race, and he got himself all the way back to the lead. So, again, comeback drivers is the name of the game here today. It is the theme of this race, it seems like. So we'll just add him to the list one more time.
Yeah, guys, I have no idea. We were just going through the stats. No idea why it's putting the 600 ahead, but he was issued a EOL.
All right, here we go.
We're
We're side by side. Lights are out on the pace vehicle once again. We're all set to go racing. riding with our leader, Vince Harley. And if we stay with this shot for just a little bit longer, you're going to see the glare that I was talking about earlier in the
iRacing
broadcast.
doing iRacing things,
You
I
can
guess.
see it right there again. And as we get closer, we're only 15 to go, but that sun is really, there's a great shot of it, of what it looks like from the cockpit perspective. That
Okay.
sun is very much a factor now for these drivers. Definitely could come into factor here coming to the checkered flag, but that is a future issue. We have 15 laps to go between now and then. We are going to go back under the green flag, and Harley once again gets a good start. I am curious to see if he's going to jump up in that high line again to see if he throws the block. And he's kind of fading up there a little bit, but everybody's being polite for now. That top line's kind of dissipating a little bit. I believe that's the 45 car. As you see Harley jump up to the top line. Okay, he took a little while to get up there, but he saw it materialize super fast here. It looked like the line was dissipating, and then all of a sudden they got a run. So the 45 now pushing the 603. And there's those dog bear fellas again. They're on that high side. That is going to be the 30 car of Jeff Schmeier. I said it correctly that time. Again, my apologies. He's currently leading that outside line. So want to see if that is going to gain any momentum. We see a car duck below the yellow line on that inside line, that pink hooded car there. Very easy to lose there, so we want to be careful with that for sure. As we check in with Hacken Shots there. He was involved with an earlier crash, and he's right up here in the 4th place position again on that high side. As we can see, we can see that top line beginning to build momentum yet again. Now this is where all day long these drivers have been very polite towards each other. Not a lot of aggression, not a lot of blocks being thrown. But as these runs begin to develop, we're going to see cars all of a sudden switch lanes, duck out without warning. So we're going to do our best to bring that to you as much as we possibly can, as we have 3 wide a little bit deeper in the field, and we have a wreck. We are going to be under caution again. I just said it on one of my other monitors. I saw cars go 3 wide, and then there was smoke all of a sudden. So we are under yellow once again. I believe Northway did squeak through there. We can see Chris Wilhite. Looks like he may have gotten a piece of that as well. We'll have replays for you here in just a minute. Dreiling was through it. Scrivener, who we're riding with right there. We're just going to have to hang on for a second to get a quick replay. Kind of saw that developing on my alternate monitor there, and we can see here it's already unfolding there. But I saw cars go 3 wide, and then all of a sudden I saw smoke. So with incidents like this, when a car tends to get in the middle, all of a sudden they don't expect to be there. They tend to have a hard time maintaining that line, and contact is very easy. As we are riding with Mark Murphy here, see if we can figure out what happened. And we can see right there, 3 wide, and he had no help. And then all of a sudden, a car sideways. So when you're that 3 wide driver and you're in the middle and you have no help, your best option is to just hang on to the wheel as tight as you possibly can. Make no sudden moves to allow yourself to not be to be an obstacle that they can be moved around. As we're seeing here, yeah, it's just kind of a chain reaction. So unfortunate for these guys. Going 3 wide through the trioval was so tough. I've said it so many times today. Those cars are so hard to drive through that particular section of the racetrack. As we look at Claude Belval here, he was involved. And okay, so we had a run that checked up. So the 8 of Ray Partridge, Belval was pushing his teammate. The run checked up. Belval had to check up, which unfortunately shuffled Partridge down to the inside, trying to avoid the car in front of him. And the cars behind Belval just did not see it, could not get the checkup in time. So this is really kind of another one of those accordion effect incidents, as we see Sebastian Jackson. He may have been the car that initiated the first contact, but again, with that accordion effect, eventually somebody is going to have to pay that price, unfortunately. And in this case, it does look like it was the 87 car. So it's unfortunate for these guys here. A couple of hard hits there. We're probably going to be pulling out the spare cars after some of these ones. And another incident that involved Wayne Hutchinson. He's been having such a great drive there. It's unfortunate for him that he's going to have to come from the back once again. And we are hearing from race control that it is a racing incident, no responsibility for this most recent of incidents. So no penalties will be issued for this particular caution. And we are getting ourselves set for another restart. I did not see any takers on pit road this go around. We, like I said previously, it looks as though all the front runners, they are good for fuel. Now, as we are going to be restarting with about 9 laps to go, we should talk briefly about the green-white checker rules. Now, if we come to the caution with, I believe it is 2 laps to go, we are eligible for a green-white checker. However, just like in the real world, if we take the white flag, the race is deemed official at that point in time. So we're definitely going to keep an eye on when do they cross the line. We're going to have to, we'll give you that information as best as we possibly can. There are up to 3 attempts for green-white checkers in this race. And just to kind of define that, we'll talk more about that if and when we get there, but just keep that in the back of your mind as we run out these final, it's going to be probably about 9 laps or so in regulation, and we will keep an eye on that.
Guys, I'll let you know, I guess we announced it in the earlier race as well, that the competition committee is looking at the incident limits, and they'll be having a discussion after this weekend.
So as these guys work their way behind the pace car, I look for those lights to be extinguished. There they go. So we are going to be going green next time by. Resetting our order, Vince Harley has been hanging on to that lead through multiple restarts now, doing a great job. He's also thrown a couple blocks, the first driver today to do that, so I fully expect to see a lot more of that as we progress through these final 9 laps that we're going to be running here. Quick update on your top 10. We have Harley in the lead. We have Jones, Caldona, I'm so sorry, the writing here's a little bit small for me, so I'm having a hard time reading it here. But we have the 602 in 3rd place, 81, 13, 101, Hack and Shot, currently in the 7th place. Jeff Schmeier there in 7th. Austin O'Neill, our pole sitter, in 8th. We have Daniel Thomas in the 60 car, still in the top 10. And we have the 77 of Hagstrom. That does round off your top 10 currently. And how about our guy, Patrick Kopp, guy who has had a lot of incidents. He's had a really tough race. What a job he's done. That guy still found his way back in the top 10. What a job. Fantastic by that driver there. Another good look at Joshua Hampton there to the outside. Haven't heard a lot from him in this race, just very quietly putting together a solid run. Anytime you can get a top 15 at Daytona with a unscathed race car, you're having a good day, and Hampton definitely doing a great job there. Very quietly putting together a solid run. We are now in turns 3 and 4, so we are very close to the restart. Good look at the field there. Not a lot of retirees from this race for what it's worth as well. We started at 33. We still have a lot of those cars on track. Pace cars off. We are going to go green once again as Harley gets a good run on that inside lane. And the 45 on the outside, maintaining pace. Not a lot of organization to begin with. We see a Fusion car ducking down to the inside there. As we work our way through turn 1 right now, it's tight. Harley going a little bit, taking a middle of the racetrack line. They're kind of holding up both lines there. We're kind of all over the place, a little scattered, a little disorganized. Harley, they're going to the top line as the 602 is going to duck underneath them, and we're going to have a fight for the lead here as the 602 underneath the 603, and
Say the reason again,
he's getting a good push from Jonas Gunnarsson, who led this race earlier today. coming through the tri-oval. We are going to have 10 laps to go as Harley through the infield grass. Hang on to it. Don't come back up in front of the
Stand by.
field. And he has spun it. We are still green. Can he gather it up, keep it going? Oh, so close. Oh my goodness. He just gets away with it, but he is going to be completely behind now. His chances of a victory just are gone at that point, and that is probably going to be a push gone wrong. He probably went a little high trying to gather it up, and then he was probably trying to get back down. We'll have to see if we should get a good view of it here. That top car on the outside lane, 45 car pushing behind him. You can see as they come off of turn 4, contact there, right there. He gets shuffled out of the line, tries to come back down, and yeah, it's exactly what I said. Great job by Harley there to keep it on the infield grass, to not come back up in front of this field. But man, tough break for him there. He had a potentially race-winning car all the way back, all by himself. That's a tough pill to swallow.
I got it.
8
Just
laps to
reviewed
go.
it. I got you.
I believe Race Control may be reviewing that. I'm hearing some chatter about that, but we will give you information about that if and when it comes to us. In the meantime, we got a battle. We have 8 laps to go. We have a battle on our hands here. The 602 up front with the 13 right behind him. Hack and Shot in 3rd place currently. The top, it looks like the top 2 cars currently have a breakaway, but that outside line is gathering momentum. We are coming down to the pay window. It is open. It's going to be paid out in just about less than 7 full laps to go now here in this Intimidator round. So it's about to get crazy, guys. We see Daniel Thomas there in the 60 car. He's been in the mix for most of the day, currently in the 6th place on that outside line, giving a nice shove to Schmeier there in the 30. And look at the run that gets generated by that outside line as a result of that push. Even now, this late in the going, doing a really nice job to back off in the corner, allowing them to make the corner. And they are side by side coming out of turn 4. Great view of the onboard there. Schmeier should lead this lap. And he does, but the 602 holding steady on the inside. Thomas with another shove. Does this clear that 30 car? It does, but he stays high. He does not go to the bottom. He stays high, stays with Thomas. And we don't want to get too far ahead, because now you can see the momentum that and you can see right there, bang, that big shove that the 60 just gave it, and look at the momentum that it generates. If I'm these guys, I duck down to the bottom right now, just like that. Now they can control this race, and that's going to leave a lot of work for the 602 as they continue to come around, because all of a sudden now he's the 3rd car to the line instead of the lead car. We are coming to 5 to go. It's all happening. It's 3 wide behind them. Can they hang on to it? He's able to find a gap. That looks to be the 81 car. He does get into a gap, so no harm, no foul there. In the meantime, Jeff Schmeier continues to lead this lap. The 602 jumps to the high side now. Now all of a sudden the high side has no energy. They're going to have to get that regrouped and get that going, as we see the lower line prevailing now. And it happens that quickly at Daytona in the space of a lap. Caldo goes from the lead to now fighting for 7th, 8th place on track. And you can see that low line just going by them. These guys are going to have their work cut out for them to get back to them here in the next 4 laps or so. Meanwhile, up front, the 30 car does appear to be leading well. The 60 car of Thomas right behind him. The 13 of Jonas Gunnarsson. Also, he led laps earlier in the day today. Hack and Shot, another great comeback driver for him. He was also involved in an incident earlier, currently holding 4th place. Now, if you're these top 4 guys here, you are wanting this to stay green as we are coming to 3 laps to go at the line here momentarily. You are wanting this race to stay green, and then the 4 of you fight it out for yourselves. So
No
I
idea.
anticipate that this whole front line is going to stay nose to tail, as we did have a crash behind, but we are staying green. That was the quick cut to the 25 car there. There was some kind of an incident, but we'll show it to you later, because we're coming to 3 laps to go here. But as I was saying, we're going to expect these front guys to stay nose to tail probably until the last lap, and then they're going to fight it out for themselves. Right now, they are just wanting there to be no further incidents behind them so they can reach out and settle it on their own. And that is kind of how I'm expecting this to play out. However, that outside line, they're not giving up on it. And look who's leading it. It's Tom Dreiling. He started this restart with an end-of-line penalty, back up to 7th. A really strong drive for him from in a very short period of time, just about 8 laps or so it's taken him to get up there. And I said it earlier in the race, as we get close to the end, as we have 2 laps to go, we are at the point of no return as far as a green-white checker goes. So can these guys hang on to it for another lap and a half as they work their way through turns 1 and 2 down the back straightaway? But that outside line gaining a bit of momentum. So, and you saw it right there. Schott just shoots to the outside there, taking advantage of it. What that's going to do is pull the cars behind him on that inside line, give them a bump. But Austin O'Neill, I believe it is, leading the outside line there. Our pole sitter, he is back. He was gone for a while, but now he's back, and he's trying to make a statement here in the late going. We are coming to 1 to go. We have officially taken the white flag. This is the last lap. We do have an official race. The next flag will end it right now. Austin O'Neill on the outside, trying to build a run as we work our way through 1 and 2 for the final time. Jeff Schmeier on the low side, trying to hang on to it. Thomas behind him. Dreiling pushes the 5 to the lead. Now, what does the 5 do? Does he stay with Dreiling, or does he go to the inside? Staying with him, the outside now, being led by the 7 car, and now Dreiling to the outside. He abandons O'Neill. This is going to get crazy. Coming out of turn 4 for the final time. Austin O'Neill on the inside, Tom Dreiling on the outside. They're going to be 3 wide behind him. It's going to be a photo finish. It is, I believe it was Jeff Schmeier. There we go. Ruined the race-ending call. But Jeff Schmeier has won this race 3 wide at the finish. What a final lap. I got to catch my breath. Yep, and there it is. Officially, Jeff Schmeier from Dog Bear in that 30 machine has won the Intimidator round here at the Daytona International Speedway. Boy, we have a lot to unpack there with that finish. That was a lot of fun. There was a lot of craziness happening. It was awesome. That was a lot of fun to watch as he comes around on the cooldown lap. We're gonna get some donuts here. Well deserved. Let's see. Coming to the line. There we go. Burn him down, sir. Well done. Well done. Spinning through the grass like Earnhardt did back in 1998. This race named after Earnhardt as the Intimidator round. And you could probably say that Mr. Schmeier is doing this potentially in tribute to Earnhardt here in the Intimidator round. But massive congratulations to him. Whew, what a finish, guys. That was absolutely amazing to watch. So quick wrap up here as we watch the 30 car continue their celebratory donuts. We have Schmeier as your race winner. Pole sitter Austin O'Neill in second. Tom Dreiling finishes third as he gets a love tap there from his teammate Ray Partridge. That is your top 3, and we have the full race results coming up for you right now. Somebody better screenshot that for their team page. They'll be having that on their website or their background. There, well done to those guys. Good job by the Dog Bear team. So quick wrap up of the top 10. We'll have a full race breakdown for you here momentarily, but Schmeier wins it. O'Neill in second, Dreiling third, Go Lightly fourth, Will Height in another really good comeback run in the round out your top 5. Thomas in sixth, and Thomas in sixth. We also have, it looks like there's a second Thomas in 7th place. And we have having a hard time reading that name there in eighth place, and I am so sorry, but we have Hackenshot in ninth and Jones rounding out the top 10. Eighth place, that's our buddy Gustafson, who led laps earlier in the race. Did not mean to disparage him whatsoever. So we are going to step aside for a minute, see if we can get our race winner here. And you're watching the Major Series. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. We have with us our race winner, Jeff. The first thing I got to do is apologize. I was apparently mispronouncing your name the entire race. It is Jeff Schmeier, not Jeff Schmier. So
Correct.
my apologies there, but congratulations on the race win, man. Walk us through what was going through your mind there coming to two to go. You were kind of there on the outside, not much was happening. Then all of a sudden, everything was going crazy, and you came out the other side. Can you walk us through what that was like?
Yeah, well, I was just sitting there leading that lead lap or the bottom side for a long time. I was just waiting for, the moves that started to come. But yeah, once they got on the outside of me, I'm like, well, as long as I can just wait until I get a gap and I can move up there. But yeah, when everyone was kind of going for the flag there, they kind of slowed up, and I'm like, well, the high line's open, so I went for the third line and got him at the end.
Yeah, it was it was an insane finish to watch from our point of view. You were kind of quiet in the first half of the race. Then you kind of just appeared out of nowhere. Now your teammates, we did chronicle them quite a bit, working that high line, and then you got involved with them as well. Was that a strategy play, or was that just kind of how it felt for you? Kind of walk us through that and what it was like working with your teammates today.
Yeah, we were trying to stick together and trying to work the high line a little bit because the high line can get kind of slow sometimes. So we just wanted to make sure we had a strategy for when we needed to use it. Um, yeah, that was. But yeah, we tried to stick together, and at the end, I ended up being all by myself, so I had to figure it out on my own.
Yeah, yeah, it was all by yourself there. Now, when you were turning donuts there in the infield, Partridge came over there, gave you a bit of a nudge. You guys gonna screenshot that, make that your desktop background? Teammates being so important here in this race. It was a great race for you. Anybody that you want to shout out here before I let you go?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I gotta thank my dog bear team. They were a lot of help today, especially testing setups and making sure we had a really fast setup for today, and it was a great setup. Um, and of course, I gotta say hi to my parents uh, and my sister and my wife and my wife's parents. They all like to watch, and I just want to say I love you all.
Awesome. Hey to the family. Love that for you. Well, we're going to let you go celebrate. Congratulations again. Put in a hard day's work. Well done and congratulations. And we will see you next time.
All right, thank you guys.
All right. I believe we have Austin O'Neill, who's also going to be joining us briefly. Let's see if we can get him in here. But that was our race winner, Jeff Schmeier, with an incredible run to the finish there. And we are now being joined by Austin O'Neill. Austin, pole sitter, you kind of led a lot of the opening rounds. You fell back a little bit in the mid part of the race, and then you just kind of like reappeared with about 10 to go. Can you just walk us through your race?
Yeah, that was filled with a lot of highs and lows. I had a great week with qualifying, and was able to obviously start on the front row for Euro. And at that point, I just knew I needed to keep the car up front for the majority of the race. And we got a couple of the other Fusion guys up there with us. And yeah, for like the first 75, it was looking amazing for us. And then I think it was two or three wrecks in a row that I wasn't my fault, just wrong place, wrong time, and caught up in it. And was lucky enough to get my car repaired at one point without burning up my fast repair, and then got caught up in another one at the end. And I was torn on what to do. I knew I had some right front damage. I didn't know how bad it was hurting me, but I was close to the top 10, I believe, and I didn't want to give up my track position. So I just stayed out, took the track position, hope I made the right call, and I didn't anticipate when I pulled out of line to make the run that I did. But I guess I was the right place, right time on that deal. I'm still trying to process how that or that third car and third lane came from at the end, but it was definitely. If you would have told me my race would have ended that way at around lap 100, 125, I would have told you were crazy.
And looking throughout the race, there were so many drivers that would come from the back to the front. You would definitely fit into that category. Um, just kind of walk us through what that process was like for you. I know that you and Scrivener were working together quite a bit. Were you able to maintain that gap with your teammates as you came through the field, or did you just kind of have to make your own way?
Go ahead.
For the most part, Brian and I, we went to the back at the same time, and we tried to create some runs on the outside lane. And we just people would go with us, and for whatever reason, nothing would materialize, and then we were back stuck on the inside row. And I wish I could have made more runs under green flag, conditions and making different lanes work. And I just was fortunate enough to take advantage of other wrecks and people's mistakes for track position. It looks great on paper for that run from the front to the back, but it was a lot of luck involved with it.
I don't know if I would wholeheartedly
Okay,
agree with
review.
you there
Let's
because
say
there's a
review.
lot of skill
Obviously,
associated with this,
post-race.
but a lot of humility coming through with that reply. One thing I would like to shout out is the whole Fusion team, your guys' Greg Biffle paint tribute.
Thank
So
you, sir.
really appreciate that you did that. We talked about that quite a bit on the broadcast. With that in mind, was there anybody here on the team that you wanted to shout out before we let you go?
Yeah, first off for the paint idea, I got to shout out Bryce Roberts, one of our America's drivers. He approached me with the idea of doing a Greg Biffle tribute paint, and I I normally don't do paints a whole lot, and it came out very well, and I was pleased to see the response I got on both our Euro and America's team, and it was really cool seeing us all lined up at certain points in that race. But no, if it wasn't for everybody at Fusion on the Euro side today, that wouldn't have been possible. I worked with everybody at one point in time. So Bill Daly, Scrivener, Daniel Thomas, Sebastian Jackson, Rob Love. I'm probably gonna forget a couple, but everybody on our team today, if it wasn't for them, neither of us or any of us would have had the result we had.
Awesome. Well, thanks for your time today. I'm sure runner-up is not quite what you were looking for, but you had a fantastic race, a strong run, and that paint looked fantastic. So thanks so much for your time. Go enjoy the rest of your day, rest of your evening, and we will see you in the next round.
Thank you so much.
That was Austin O'Neill, our second place driver. We are appreciate him stopping by as well. Always tough when you are so close to winning one of the Crown Jewel events and then can't quite get there, but definitely appreciate his time and his humility. And then congratulations again to Jeff Schmeier, to his family as well as they were watching today. Hope you enjoyed that as well. And then, yeah, I think that's all we got for you. So, as we see that finish one more time, that is just incredible. I'm gonna have to go back and watch it myself to break down everything, but that, I believe, is going to do it for us from here at Daytona, here at the Major Series. On behalf of Khaled, who did such a fantastic job producing, gave you all these amazing shots today. Fantastic job to him. Super grateful to him for all the information he gave me here on the commentary. So on behalf of him, my name is Tim Klaus. We're going to go ahead and sign off. We're going to say so long from the World Center of Racing. We're going to see you again on March the 1st for round 3 of the Major Series. That will be taking